Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Weeb Seen It Podcast, episode number 17. My name's Cam,
And I'm Jimmy.
and let's just get right into the episode today. And welcome back to episode number 17, guys. So it's kind of a big week.
Yeah, a lot of changes coming.
A lot of changes. So this is obviously winter 2021 anime season has started. We're in the new year now.
Yeah.
So I think there's still about 3 series we didn't watch or haven't come out yet. At least like ones on our list.
Yeah, the big ones: Log Horizon, Dr. Stone, and what was the other one? Slime.
Yeah, Slime. And I also want to see the Wave, the surfing anime.
I know. I'm going to leave that one to you, though.
Yeah, that's a little bit more of a personal preference. It might be something I drop too. Obviously, we've talked about it before. We don't exactly have the time to talk about every single show. Basically, what we've decided on is we have a set list of 5 right now. We're looking for a 6th, so we're going to do some sort of vote or something in the comments this week for you to vote on the 6th one that we talk about every single week. And then we're going to have one rotating spot, which is just going to be a free spot every single week that we can just choose what we want that week.
Yeah, you never know if something major is going to happen in an episode, and a lot of shows that we may not normally talk about, like a slice of life or a comedy or something like that, might have a major episode that's worth talking about. So
yeah, so it's good to leave it open, because even if there's something like, if we decide not to talk about reincarnated as a slime, but then there's an episode that was just so good it like blew our minds.
Yeah,
like a Demon Slayer episode number 19 kind of situation.
Oh yeah.
Then we have that open spot at the end to talk about it. But yeah, we are going to do a vote in the comments. I'll leave a pinned comment there. Just, if there's any of the series that aren't on our current 5 list, let us know. A vote's pretty important. But right now we have the obvious ones. We have Attack on Titan, ReZero, Promise Neverland, Jujutsu Kaisen, and what am I missing?
Which one are you missing?
I'm missing something obvious. I feel like I have to be.
Attack on Titan, Jujutsu Kaisen,
ReZero,
yeah,
Promise Neverland.
Wow, I feel really bad about this.
Is it? I wonder if it's on the list somewhere.
We had this too.
Yeah, we did. I'm thinking unless that we actually only wrote that down and we're looking for a 5th, and then the 6th is the fluid spot. But I can't be sure.
I don't think so.
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of it, obviously, one of the things we got early on when we started this off is we did start this podcast. Being ReZero was one of the big ones that people were coming in for. Obviously, now we have shows like Attack on Titan,
Log Horizon.
Log Horizon, yes, thank you. We
hasn't come out yet.
Yeah, we have stuff like Attack on Titan, ReZero, and like something like Promise Neverlands are big pulls. But one of the questions we got a lot early on was, do we only cover like a shonen series?
Yeah, which it was a pretty shonen heavy season when that got out.
It was, yeah. And we, as I said, we are watching everything. So we're watching, like Quintessential, Quintuplets, Horimiya. Those are 2 slice of lives. Obviously, there's like 4 different isekai series we're watching.
Every season has just a slew of isekais you have to watch.
Yeah, and there's a couple other shows that are a little bit harder to put into a genre. But we are watching a lot more. If our list does come off shonen heavy, it's just because those are the ones we think that we can talk about more. Yeah. But as I said, if you want us to talk about something like Horimiya weekly, just make sure that when you respond to the comment, that's like your vote, and then we'll do it if there's enough people.
Yeah, believe me, if I have an excuse to gush about Horimiya every week, I will.
Yeah, so today's episode is going to be a little bit different. We're going to be talking about Attack on Titan, Promise Neverland, and ReZero, because we haven't yet gotten the episode of Log Horizon. Jujutsu Kaisen only had a holiday special.
Yeah, just another recap episode, which we could talk about, but just see our previous episodes for that.
Yeah, exactly. No point in that. So since we don't have those ones yet, we're going to talk about these 3. And then after, we might, depending on how much time we have left, we're probably just going to give some first impressions of some of the other series we watched.
Yeah, just whatever stuck out to us, what maybe surprised us or maybe what disappointed us.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of the fun. Obviously, if you are someone who's watching this, you notice we have a slight update. We finally got a new camera, so we're no longer in bad webcam quality. Most people, I'm sure, are listeners anyways. But if you're if you're watching it on the second screen, you're not looking, check it out right now because it got better.
Yeah, and anyone who's normally listening, maybe take a look over and just appreciate a little bit of the update. So
yeah, and as always, too, we ask if you guys can to subscribe, like, and most importantly, comment. The other things are very important for the algorithm and trying to get new people and stuff like that. We are gaining a small group of subscribers each video, which is perfect.
Yeah, we've gotten a lot of good feedback, and we appreciate any type of interaction from anyone.
Yeah, the comments are by far the most important, though. As we've discussed before, this is a very discussion-based podcast. It's we're not deep diving into these anime. We're not like specialize in any sort of field to dive into the animation or anything like that. So a lot of it's just we just want to discuss the episodes as just a group of normal guys who like anime. So if you're in that category too, leave us comments. A lot of people have been really good about it, and I personally literally go to each comment. I'll heart them because why not, and then I'll comment back. So feel free to comment, of course, if you have any opinions on any of the episodes we talk about or any episodes we didn't talk about. As I said, we've probably watched the anime, so
That is true. Especially this season. I think we've watched pretty much everything. So
It is a lot easier this season. It's not a bigger list than the original last season was.
it's just more spread out.
It's just more spread out. The one we had like 8 shows were on Friday and then a couple spread out throughout the week. This one there's 1, 2, I think Thursday has like 4, which is the biggest one.
Yeah,
not yet, but that's going to be with Dr. Stone, Quintessential Quintuplets, a lot of those.
Yeah, but even then, Thursday is not as bad as Friday. If you're going to have plans, or if you're going to do something, usually you're going to do it on Friday afternoon, Friday night.
Yeah.
Which having to watch 6 anime in that day.
It really does. Plus, one thing I'll say here too is we've gotten this comment before. We are recording these right after Attack on Titan, so we literally just sat down. We watched Attack on Titan together. Yes, that means that some of the anime we talk about is not going to be as current. So if a show that comes out on Monday, for instance, or a show that comes out on Saturday, I guess would be some of the shows that we talk about are gonna, by the time this episode airs on our channel, they're only going to be out for like a day, or they're going to be out for the entire week. So obviously, you're like, some of them are going to be less relevant, but we have to kind of focus this around the biggest sellers. And since Attack on Titan is probably the biggest anime, especially for discussing theories and stuff like that, it means we kind of have to plan around that. So we come out with it today so that it's out for a full 6 days for people to discuss Attack on Titan. When that show ends, we'll probably maybe change the day depending on what else we have.
Yeah, we were originally considering switching up the day, but with Attack on Titan and nothing really major dropping on Monday or Tuesday, it just kind of worked out this way.
Yeah, like obviously there's less days than we'd like for something like ReZero to discuss it.
Yeah.
But it's still at least somewhere in the middle. It would have sucked if it was literally the next day.
I mean, if it was the next day, we could have just moved Attack on Titan back one day.
That's true. But yeah, basically, I'm sorry if there's anything that you're watching us discuss that isn't relevant. It just has to be done, unfortunately, to try and pull in as many people as possible so we can keep these discussions going.
Oh, yeah.
I think other than that, I think we're ready to start.
I think we are, yeah.
Okay, let's ceremonial crack open our non-sponsored energy drinks, as always.
One day.
One day. Actually, we have a friend who's looking at making us some Weeb Sheenit shirts right now.
Yeah, we do actually.
That'll be pretty fun because I don't know what the heck I'm wearing today. Bright ass yellow is probably going to destroy the color.
I mean, not as bad as me. I've got like 3 T-shirts I cycle through on this show.
That's true. So. But yeah, having some cool Weeb Sheenit shirts would be pretty fun for the podcast.
Oh yeah. Who knows? One day maybe we'll have merch.
Yeah. Okay. So obviously, very first up, without a doubt, Attack on Titan.
Just finished it.
Yeah. Do we have a name?
Declaration of War.
Okay, an episode number. This is 5 of season 4, and yes. I think it's 64 or something.
64 overall. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we literally just finished it. We sat out in the other room and we watched this episode because it airs at, I think today was 3:45.
Yep.
Normally it's about 3:45 to 4 on Sunday. So we just finished it. We're recording, fresh in our minds. That means it's a couple good things. Couple good things, couple bad things. It means that everything's right there to remember, but you haven't had time to sit with it.
Yeah, no processing time, time to form
there's
a
no
theory.
Watching other videos. There's no like, hey, like, ooh, could this have been this person? Let me look up what this guy says. Like,
yeah.
So it's 100% fresh in our mind. So if we say anything stupid, it's because it's just so new. We haven't had time to process it yet.
Yeah, there's a good chance we'll walk away from this and go, damn, I should have said that.
Yeah. Obviously, they took a week off last week, right at a pretty big moment, showing off. Aaron getting Reiner into the basement was a pretty big cliffhanger at the end of the last episode, especially since it was a post-credit scene.
I mean, I kind of understand that.
Imagine if you didn't watch past the credits.
You would have seen it this week.
I know, but you come into this episode and it's just him down there already, and you're just like, wait, what the fuck did I miss?
That's why you always check after the credits.
I'm not gonna lie, I don't. I did that time.
I know you don't.
I do for Attack on Titan because I typically watch the next time anyways. I'm just get like a good idea what I'm going into. So that helped. That was one of the reasons I ended up seeing it. But yeah, if you didn't, that would suck.
Yeah, like it's not like a lot of shows. There were shows that I think like Noblesse last season, they had a lot of after credit scenes, but they were all just like little jokey things.
A lot of the ones from last season had after credit scenes that were at least the next week anyways, it was just the first scene. Like the exact same thing. Like obviously this episode of Attack on Titan started off with him being in the basement, but you missed the whole interaction where, you would have missed where Falco brings him down and the first acknowledgement and stuff like that. So
yeah, so they kind of assume you're watching after the credits, so just bear that in mind.
Yeah, so the episode plot can be described very simply. You have so the episode I asked this as soon as it started because the episode title is obviously Declaration of War, and I said, do you think the Declaration of War is referring to Willie or do you think it's referring to Aaron? And the answer is both. So which I guess could have been an easy guess. But yeah, it's basically Willie with his fun stage performance. And then Aaron discussing, everything with Reiner at the same time, just on 2 separate levels. And that's literally the entire episode. You have Willie telling the Marleyans finally about the truth. So the real truth about the king and all that kind of situation that went on with the Eldians. And then you have, it looks like Aaron just, he's finally gotten over it. He kind of, he doesn't specifically say I forgive you, but he's not really mad at Reiner, right? He realizes he had to do what he had to do.
He's kind of accepted that Reiner had his role in this war and that he can't be mad at him specifically for just being a soldier.
Yeah, and it's the same thing, right? Originally, just like how all the Eldians on this side in Marley think that, the Paradise Island ones are all like crazy devils. Aaron fully admits in this that when he said that, if he kills all the people across from the sea, can then he, be happy kind of thing.
Yeah.
He would have had the same thought. He said, hey, these people across from the sea must all be fucking terrible monsters. They're literally just sending Titans over here to kill us, like for fun.
Yeah.
But then he goes across, he stays, with some of these people, sees some kind people, specifically Falco. Yeah. And he's like, you know what? You're not all monsters. You're just like me. We're just just a war thing got to go on.
You were trained from a young age to say we were devils, so I can't really blame you for thinking that.
It's really hard. And plus, Falco's such a good boy.
He is.
Obviously, Falco was a little bit upset in this episode. Both doing tasks for Aaron, like sending letters to his family, very kind of him.
Yeah.
Collecting Reiner for him, stuff like that. Now he has learned was not that much of a good task for him to do.
Yeah, because they, as Aaron said, reached not his family but his comrades.
Yes. So yeah, while the episode seems simple in concept, it's just you have Willie talking and then you have Aaron. The Willie section is actually pretty informative.
Yeah,
it's stuff that we pretty much knew, but it's nice when it gets all kind of put into like it's stuff we've learned over like 4 seasons or like 3 seasons. It's nice when it's just put into a direct tale from someone who is definitely not lying. It's telling the truth for the most part. Like literally it was just talking about how back in the day, because we've heard mention of the hero, like Hilo sort of his name was in one of the previous episodes.
No face, no actual tail or anything like that, just like, hey, this guy saved us all from the Titans through
he saved us from the Titans. He convinced some of the Eldians to fight against the other ones, and then the king fled to the island and put up his walls and shit like that, and they have an army of 1 million colossal Titans ready to come kill us. But then he reveals the truth to all the Marleyans that it's actually we made up this hero. He didn't want to fight in war anymore, and he decided he was just going to go live peacefully on this island, no matter what, basically.
Yeah.
And we already knew the whole thing with the Founding Titan, and as soon as the Founding Titan gets passed on, they have that, would you call it like an urge? Or like they can't resist it at all, basically.
He said specifically that he made a vow, which means that they can't fully use the Founding Titan. Whether that means he's actively overwriting their personality or just limiting them.
Well, it seemed like it too, right? Because we had the one character who was avidly against the whole system, and then he became the Founding Titan. I don't remember his name was. Started with a U. He was the one who Kenny worked for.
Yeah, I can't.
But then he got the Founding Titan, and then all of a sudden his entire personality changed, right?
Yeah.
So it's just something that comes over you. And that was nice of him, I guess. It's like, hey, we'll be peaceful no matter what. You can literally send Titans here, crush our walls, kill all our people, but we're not fighting back.
Yeah.
Until the whole Grisha Jaeger thing happened. But
yeah, I mean, even then, it kind of explains things like the Scout Corps being like just as woefully unprepared as they were until they got to the 1 leader. So yeah,
it's true. Until shit got real, and Irwin, absolute badass. One of the big questions for us from this episode is obviously, you see Aaron having the conversation, you see everything going on, but even if this war did start right now, there's still one issue, which is a lot of the current warriors, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, you have like Porco, you have what's her name, Peen, what the hell it is?
Peak.
That's it. Porco and Peak. And then you have, we don't know exactly where Zeke went.
Yeah.
We know he got separated, but obviously, if you were to spread out this war, these warriors are here ready to help. So, trying to get rid of them slightly, someone comes over and says, hey, we were asked by Captain, whatever his name is, to bring you somewhere. And they're like, okay, yeah, take us.
Yeah.
And then while they're walking, one of the warriors mentions like, hey, I think I recognize them somehow. And then obviously they go into a trap. Who was the person? Okay, we have theories.
We have got 2 front runners. One is our favorite blonde boy, Armin.
Okay, yeah, because he's a colossal titan. He might have gotten a lot taller.
Option 2 is the possibility of a turn to Annie.
Yes. So here's some of the hints. Okay, if you're watching this future and you're like, man, these guys are stupid, this is obviously them. Or if you just happen to know, or you are much smarter than us, that's perfect for you.
I mean, even if you just read the manga.
Yeah, we don't 100% know though, because when they showed up originally, we're like, hey, that could be Connie. It was just a faceless soldier.
Yeah.
But you don't have a faceless soldier unless there's a reason for it. That's just classic
Yeah.
filmmaking in any sense.
Yeah, Attack on Titan really focuses the eyes to show emotion, so having that blocked off kind of.
And when they
tips
first
off.
showed up, there was like no hair visible or anything like that. So we're like, hey, it's probably Connie then, you know? No hair.
Yeah,
Who else?
I do want to go back and rewatch it because Peak later mentions that they have a beard.
Yeah, she said that was an attractive beard. She's like, oh, that was like a sexy beard kind of thing.
Yeah, specifically, I might be interested in your beard.
Yeah,
or I've
so
taken a fancy to your beard.
so there's a bunch of things here that we're just like, oh wait, it can't be. We're like, oh maybe it's Annie because we see the blonde. We're like, oh, it's, and you know, like the voice was pretty feminine. It was somewhere right in between masculine and feminine.
Yeah,
which is normally exactly where I'd put Armin, so that's why that was one of the hints. But when it's like the other thing too is that earlier in the episode you see Annie's father talking with Reiner's mom, and they're discussing Berthold's dad, who's dead.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, a little bit of the Warriors' parents, kind of see like the toll this has on them. And the discussion about Annie, when we've talked about where the fuck Annie is for a couple weeks now, is very hinty. So then to come out with this slightly feminine, maybe masculine character who's blonde, and the other big hint is that they recognize them.
Yeah, because they would have trained together. So.
Yeah, there's no reason in the world that they would have really recognized, unless they had some sort of intel brought over about Armin after finding out he might become the Colossal Titan.
Yeah, the only other argument you can make is the possibility that because he's taking on traits of the Colossal Titan, he reminds them of Bertold.
Yeah, and it's definitely possible it could be Armin. It looks a lot taller than he used to be, but he's also become the Colossal Titan, and you know, Bertold was also kind of a lanky motherfucker.
Yeah,
so it's very possible. But you know, it's got to be one of the two of them, right?
I mean, at this point, yeah, they wouldn't put this much focus on them, giving them that many little hints and not having to pay off.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't like Jean or anything like that. It just didn't go with his character at all. It literally, to me right now, I'm stuck right in between. I'm like, it can't be, but like, because the beard comment, but mixed with the recognize, they wouldn't recognize.
I mean, the thing is, a beard is very easy to fake. If Annie
That's
cut
true.
her hair to put the helmet on, they could have easily glued some to her chin.
That is very true. Okay, so is your front runner Annie right now?
I'm putting my money on Annie.
Okay, I'm also going to put on Annie. The main reason I'm going to put on Annie is just because the fact that she was brought up in the episode. Yeah. When she has been, obviously we've seen her multiple times, and we saw her at the very beginning of this episode. It was a flashback, them still discussing the man who hung himself. But the actual discussion in modern day time about where Annie is not ever happening right now in the show. So for it to happen in this episode, and for the father to be like, no, she's alive. You know, he's like, oh, you know, and then he's like, oh, well, she wouldn't come. She said she wouldn't come back unless she's, you know, alive, kind of thing. Or, well, I mean, I guess no matter what.
I know what you're trying to say. She said she wouldn't die.
Yeah. So originally, when he first says like, oh no, she's not dead, you're like, oh wait, does he know something? Then he's just like, oh, you know, he's kind of hoping.
Yeah, like we've had some hints about her father in the past too. That he was a little bit of a hard ass and very, very heavy in his training of her. So
yeah. So it's a good possibility. That's a cool hint. Obviously, they did also show a brief flashback while Aaron was talking about the woman in the one episode who was looking on at the Warriors, who our guess was either Sasha or Mikasa back in the day. It was just the exact scene that I thought they were gonna like, you know, move the camera and show who it was. It's like okay, obviously we know Aaron's here. We know he's got friends here now. It's time to show us. But they're still keeping that hidden, I guess, for the next episode. Probably, I can't imagine it's anybody except for Mikasa or Sasha, except for maybe like long-haired Levi.
I know who you're talking about. It bugs me that I can't remember her name right now.
Who? What do you mean?
Lang or
no, Hange.
Hange. That's it.
That's it. Yeah. But yeah, like obviously the episode was still really good. The ending, though, we gotta discuss the ending.
You talking about the ending, or are we talking about the post-credit scene, or the next type scene first?
We're talking about when shit gets real.
Okay.
So obviously, the one reason you're like, wait, why didn't Reiner just turn into the Colossal Titan and fight Aaron right in the room as soon as he saw him? Multiple reasons. One, room's too small. Two, Falco's in there, and Falco's just a very normal boy, so he would be absolutely obliterated. Three, you know, Aaron's already pre-cut himself. He's already thinking ahead.
Yeah.
And then four, Aaron just goes into a nice, very deep description about how many people are happy right now above him. He's like, you know, right above this building, lots of happy families, and they're just watching this. So he's setting up so there's nothing they can do. Just at the same time later, you're seeing how Porco and Peak are dropped into a room, basically, that is too small for one of them to transform, let alone two, because they would just kill the other one.
They effectively just dropped them down a well.
I did like how they showed Porco, and he was like, his hand was messed up. It was like completely crushed. I don't think Peak had anything wrong with her, though.
Her leg was broken.
Okay. Oh, no, but she needs her legs the most. I don't know how
to
long
be fair,
it
she
takes
uses
to-
her hands as legs too.
That's
so
true.
It's all the same to her.
But yeah, so when shit gets real, obviously what we're talking about is we're referring to the part where, Reiner kind of gets on his knees and he's like, kill me, Aaron. He's like, listen,
Yeah.
he's like, you're saying that this was just part of war. He's like, no. I directly, like Annie and Bertold, they wanted to leave. They were down just to go. I'm like, no. So let's stay and kill Aaron's mom, basically, because he wanted, recognition. He wanted to be tough. He wanted to be like a war hero, maybe. Then his dad would love him or talk to him or anything along those lines. So he's begging, basically. He's not even really begging for forgiveness. He's just begging Aaron to kill him. And then Aaron kind of helps him up, and he's like, no, he's like, me and you are exactly like. He's like, I'll do anything. He's like, and I'll do anything to win. And then he gets the fucking look in his eye.
Yeah.
And then you see the spark from his hand.
Yeah, just as Lily finishes his speech, he bursts through the building, just showing how little he gives a fuck at this point.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, all those people who were enjoying the show, they're done for.
Yeah. And I think we got to see Lily die.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Which a couple parts of that. One is the big question there is him transforming would kill Falco. So my question is like, do you think Aaron knew that Reiner would go to protect Falco? Do you think he was hoping? Because I understand that Aaron at this point is pretty emotionless, but I still don't think he just want Falco to die. I think he's got to have at least a little bond being like, hey, maybe eventually we can turn this kid or something.
I mean, maybe. The idea that plus there's the fact that he went pretty much straight up.
Yeah.
So he wouldn't have expanded that much width-wise. So there would have been still some room in the room for Falco.
Yeah, he's not the Colossal Titan, luckily, who would have just nuked the whole place.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that would have been my go-to as a welcome, just arming on underneath the stage. Just
Yeah. I mean, I don't think you open with the nuclear warhead, but...
Oh, I would. I'm much more destructive than them, apparently.
Yeah, apparently.
But yeah, our Reiner kind of turns, showing that he's going to protect Falco. Probably pushes him out of the way. They're probably both safe, obviously. You don't want an off-screen death of one of those two characters. Yeah. But yeah, Aaron just busts through the entire building. You don't exactly see what happens to Willie at that point, but you know that Aaron busts through, and then like the final shot basically is a bloody Willie being like thrown up by Aaron to either just he's already dead and he's just throwing him, or about to be eaten.
Yeah, I mean, for all we know, he's just gonna spike him onto the pavement.
Yeah. Now, Aaron doesn't seem like a very Edie kind of guy, but the question still for most of us is, who is the Warhammer Titan? Yeah. This to me just makes me think it's Willie even less than already. I think this is like the red herring. It's possible that into the next episode that Aaron does eat Willie, and as viewers we're supposed to believe that then he has the power of like the Warhammer Titan maybe, and then it's actually revealed that it's someone else.
Yeah. The only problem with that is
the next episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where they just straight up show us the Warhammer Titan transforming.
They do. Luckily, they do not show us who it is still. I told you this while we were watching the episode, but I had a discussion with a viewer in the comments on the last episode where we were talking about who the Warhammer Titan could be, both from non-spoiler perspectives. Neither of us knew. And their guess was it was like the big guard dude who first answers the door for like the captain. Because under the same premise of who my guess was, because he says like, the Warhammer Titan is here. And that's a big dude. So that kind of like, that makes sense. Why would you have such a beefy guard? Maybe he's the Warhammer Titan. My guess was the maid. They show the shot of the two kids and there was like the maid lady playing with them under the same premise as like I feel like Attack on Titan is always trying to trick us in some way.
Yeah.
So what's the easiest way to trick us? It's like they just say they're here. They're not necessarily even part of that family. It's going to be one of like the two help they showed. And then in this episode, for a second, I thought that they were giving me a hint. They showed like off to the side of Willie, and there was the maid, and I'm like, checkmate. I guessed it right. And then they went a little bit more wide angle, and the big dude was beside her. I was like, fuck, now it could be either one of them again. Those are my guesses. I don't think it's the old lady. I don't think it's going to be the children, and I don't think it's Willie at this point.
Yeah, I can almost guarantee it's not going to be Willie. The family leader wouldn't take that burden on.
Yeah.
Especially with the 13-year time frame.
Yeah, he's got too much shit to do. Especially with all of like he has all. The only thing is like he obviously did show a lot of knowledge. He specifically mentioned the reason he knows all this is because the passing on of the Warhammer Titan. That could very easily be a different family member just telling him.
Yeah.
But he almost speaks like it's from like from seeing it.
I mean, for all we know, it was one of the grandparents because we didn't see them in this episode.
It's true, but I think the fact that we didn't see them in this episode speaks even more that it's not them. The Warhammer Titan's going to be right there on scene.
What if Willie ate one of them and is now the Warhammer Titan himself?
I mean, that's Paul. Like just recently, like he just ate it to give himself the max time. That's a possibility too. But do you think they would do that off screen? Unless they give us a flashback after.
Yeah, flashback after all the way.
Possible. My guess still, I'm still agreeing with that viewer. I'm disagreeing with who it is, but the fact that they literally for a second showed those two characters off to the side of the stage, when we know in the next episode the Warhammer Titan's going to be very active.
I mean, that is definitely a possibility. I never considered the idea of using a servant, which would make a lot of sense.
Because they still, they're like royalty, right? They don't want to use themselves, but they have to use such a loyal servant. It still could be a family member, like a cousin or like a half sister, someone who bred to a different family or something like that. Like just someone who's less important in the family.
Yeah, I mean, these people are also basically the Illuminati. Like, they run the world is how it's described.
Yeah, basically. They run Marley.
Finding someone who's basically raised from birth to be loyal to wouldn't be that hard for them. So
no, as we see with pretty much all the warrior candidates are in some way basically raised to be 100% loyal.
Yeah.
Except for maybe Annie. We'll see in the next episode.
Yeah.
Obviously big question. We want to see Levi very soon. He's like, what would you say, he's the fan favorite of the show?
Probably, yeah. He's the one who gets the most fan art at the very least. So.
Yeah, the most like him cleaning fan art, or I'm sure there's like Levi X Irwin stuff out there all over the place.
God damn it.
But yeah, he's a big character. We want to see him.
Yeah, he's going to show up in the next couple episodes. I can't imagine a fight going down with the Warhammer Titan and him not getting involved.
I just obviously the one thing is we need to see how much Aaron's grown. So Aaron's just got to take this Warhammer out. This is not a shonen. Well, it is kind of a shonen series, but it's not a shonen series in the sense where you're never getting long battles in Attack on Titan.
Yeah,
there's never been like a battle that's really lasted more than an episode.
Yeah, even the ones that do, it's usually something like when the Beast Titan is attacking the Survey Corps, and it's just an episode and a half of him pelting them with rocks.
Yeah, it's not like a one-on-one fight. So if the Warhammer turns next episode, Aaron's already turned. I think that by the end of next episode, it's very possible we get a resolution to that fight right there. Whether or not
it's not going to last.
No, I can't imagine Aaron losing, obviously, but you can also imagine the Warhammer Titan just turning back and escaping, or one of the other warrior candidates or one of the other warriors, like Zeke, comes in and rescues them last second.
Yeah.
Or obviously the possibility too that Aaron just upright eats them, and Aaron's got 3 Titans now.
Yeah, which I want to know what's going to end up happening if he adds anything more to this, because like the Founding Titan is kind of an abstract concept.
Well, the Founding Titan would be very useful right now if they have Historia.
True.
Because then, when the Eldians try to release all their foot soldiers to try and stop this, as if you have Historia there, Aaron just has, no, go.
No, you're fighting for us now.
Yeah, shoot that way. Go hit all those Marlians.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Makes a big deal, but that means they would have had to bring Historia. So they would have had to bring the queen of their land over to this war.
Yeah, which definitely has its own problems.
Yeah. Now, hear me out here. Hear me out, people. Concept. In the last 4 years, Historia had a baby, and it's a carryable baby. So Aaron just has the baby in like a little cart.
I know what you're going for.
And he puts his hand on it. You just get some of that royal blood.
I'm just trying to picture him fighting while palming a baby without crushing it.
What if they slowly the last 4 years and every like week took like a pint of blood out of Historia, fed her a bunch of and then he's got like a bucket of blood. Can he just like drop it on himself and then use the power? Are these are the things that they should be thinking of? They should be getting creative here. He's like, oh, I don't want to eat Historia. Not that he would even know for sure if that would give him the power all the time. Yeah. But, get creative, and then you don't have to eat people, Maybe you just, like, does the body have to be alive? Can she just cut off one of her hands and then keep a dead hand as, like, a necklace?
If we're going to do that, like, why wouldn't you just cut off some of her hair and make a bracelet out of it?
That's true. Or, like, find her father, if he has a corpse left. He got kind of destroyed in the end. Yeah, or, go into the ancient burial ground where the family lies, find some of them skeletons, see if a skeleton power works.
I think we're a little off track at this point.
No. We're right on track. They need to get creative is what I'm saying here.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, obviously then we watched the next time on Attack on Titan was mainly showing exactly what you think. It was just showing something turning into the Warhammer Titan.
Yeah.
Now, I will admit that it looked much more masculine there.
Well, we don't know how this works.
Yeah, which, leads me to believe that maybe I'm the wrong one with the guessing of the main.
We could just assume most of the Titans are male, and whether you're male or female, you automatically turn into a male variant.
Well, it's true because, there's the female Titan, but...
Yeah, and then if you're a guy and you hit the female Titan somehow, it's like, well, you're a chick now.
It's true. I mean, I think they should have given Armin the female Titan. It would have fit right in. Would have been a perfect mix.
Yeah, but then they would have had to have a reason for Annie to be there and for them to eat her.
That's true. I really do hope that character is Annie, because that'll finally answer the questions of where the hell she's been. It makes no sense if the show is trying to tell us she's still inside Crystal, because Aaron learned the power of harnessing that crystal shit like 2 seasons ago.
Yeah, there's no way they haven't smashed it already.
Yeah, it wouldn't make any sense. So this is the time to bring her back. I would love for her to be shown, and then obviously we need some backstory if it is her as to how they turned her. She didn't seem like that hard to turn anyways, maybe, but to convince her to go back to the land that, where she's from and destroy people, her father was right there, like pretty front stage in that audience where Aaron just destroyed.
She seemed like she had some daddy issues, so.
I mean, don't they all? Can you name me a character right now who doesn't have daddy issues?
Maybe Jean.
I can imagine his father being pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, obviously Aaron's got some mad daddy issues and granddaddy issues and stepbrother, half-brother issues.
There's a lot of granddaddy issues too, thinking about. Like, think about Armin.
Yeah, there's a lot of, even like someone like Levi, his whole,
that's a whole other level of issue right now.
He's got uncle issues. Yeah, so it was a very good episode. Obviously, the end was the most climactic part. We're finally getting to see. We haven't had action since episode 1 to begin with. Even that action we were pretty far removed from because there weren't really characters we cared about at that time. Yeah. But this one, obviously, getting Aaron involved, finally the action. Next episode and going onward is just going to be so good. So I'm glad they took the week break. It was a perfect time to do it because it gets you really excited. That gave us more time to ponder what's happened so far and look forward to what's currently happening, which is really good. I think other than that, though, we just have to wait till next week. And
because I think the only thing I did want to touch base on is they did mention how all the top brass of the Marleyan military was sitting there.
Yeah. Yeah, they're like, wow, look, even that guy's here. And then obviously you had all these really important foreigners, too. Now, they showed the Japanese chick so many times.
And she said, let's leave.
Yeah. Why did she want to leave so bad?
I think she's on Paradise's side here.
Obviously, we got our answer in this one. But I had a firm thought that there was a good possibility that like Willie was going to be also on Paradise's side, especially when he started revealing the truth. And then at the very end, he just took that twist where he's like, yeah, now we destroy them because, now they were peaceful before, but now they're really not peaceful.
They had revolution. They're not mind-controlled anymore.
They name-dropped Eren Yeager like 3 times in that speech. He's downstairs like, oh, yeah, feels good,
Yeah, I'm the face of
when people recognize you.
He's basically the face of the greatest evil to these people.
Yeah, they didn't even give a shout out to Grisha, who started it all. How rude.
They probably don't even know his goddamn name.
Or Kruger, who I guess really kind of started it all in a sense. Yeah. That was one thing we never touched on too, is that Aaron's always been going by the name Kruger while he's here, which was the name of the original, well, not the original, but the Attack Titan who then gave his powers to Grisha. Yeah. We never touched on it before. That was a pretty fun fact since Aaron has the memories.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it makes sense just from a logistics point. Just, I know this is a viable name here.
Yeah, he's like, maybe all the naming's different here. Hey, I know this was a name that passed here even as a Marleyan too. So
yeah,
so it worked out. But yeah, very good episode. Very excited for next week. We're gonna have a pretty big action episode, I assume.
Yeah,
which, as I said, we haven't gotten since episode 1. So
shit has hit the fan, and we just get to watch it go everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. So look forward to that. If you have any thoughts, comments, or theories about this episode, leave them down in the comments. Yeah. A big one's obviously gonna be who you think the blonde, mysterious, possibly bearded soldier was. Yeah. As always, we ask for spoiler-free comments. So, if you know exactly who it is because you're a huge manga reader, maybe then don't say it. Or, at least write spoiler and keep the rest hidden under a read more or something.
Yeah, I mean, at the very least, just act like it's a theory and pretend you're smarter than everyone else.
Exactly. That's a good go-to. Okay, so that was Attack on Titan for this week. Next up on the list would be ReZero. So finally, we have restarted ReZero with Season 2, Part 2.
A straight bet.
Straight bet. Yeah, what episode is this technically? 15, 14?
I think it's 15.
Okay, makes sense. This was a really good episode.
It was.
So I had a discussion in the comments with another person from last week who said that they're not watching ReZero anymore. They said that so far Season 2 has really bored them, and I understand that to an extent. Season 2 so far had my favorite. I'd say my favorite episode of the whole show so far, which was the one where he is dealing with his parents.
Okay, yeah.
As far as like emotional drama and stuff like that goes, like that was just such a good episode. That was probably the closest episode in this season or in the series in general that would like actually make me want to cry. So that was a good one. But I see what they mean compared to at this point in season 1, the show would have been through what, like 2 separate, maybe 3 separate loop states at this point.
Yeah, we're still dealing with the first one.
Still dealing with the first one, which means I think that season 2 part 1 was definitely slower, but I think that season 2 part 2 then is where it's going to have so much good shit.
Yeah, I think we're going to get a lot of leaps here. especially with this episode, kind of the declaration of Roswell, we're going to see some progress. We're going to see him break this loop. At the very least, get to the next stage of the plan. So
Yeah, and he's going about things in a way that, like, when I was watching the last part of the first season or second season, I was wondering why he didn't go about this the whole time, right? He was looking for the solution. And to me, every single week, I was like, well, why don't you just help Amelia, right? Because if you help Amelia, then, you know, she solves that issue. If she does it really fast somehow, then you could still take everyone and go try and save the thing. And that's a way to do both. But for some reason, he just ignored that thing each time. He's like, no, I got to ignore Amelia and do both these things.
I think the big problem with that was that he's very much on the mindset of he has to do it himself if he's helping.
Probably. Plus, he's probably thinking that if he pushes her too much, she's not going to like him and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, we saw what happened when she pushes herself too hard.
Yeah. I like that we finally got some, like, in this one episode, we got so much. We got a lot of Amelia backstory.
Yeah,
which is important. We found that she was frozen in ice. We got the removal of Puck very sadly.
I feel like this is something we would have we would have known about the Frozen in Ice if we'd watched Frozen Bond.
Maybe.
I'm willing to bet just based on the name.
I literally thought I watched Frozen Bond when I watched the special where they all make snowmen in the snow. I thought that was Frozen Bond.
It might be. Maybe I'm off base. I still have to watch it. I just haven't had time.
I don't think it is. I think that was just like a winter special.
Probably.
But yeah, we got, Puck's goodbye. And there's a lot of questions. I felt really bad. I'd like to just go through this episode and discuss exactly what happened, like, tell you the plot. But it's pretty hard for me to just say what the plot is. Because ReZero is not something like, even Attack on Titan, I love it. But as I discussed, the plot's just two different people discussing something. This one, there's so many elements to this one episode.
Yeah, there's a lot of different threads that have been going throughout the series that are just kind of coming through here.
Yeah, like even the very first thing, for instance, is Subaru and Otto deepening their friendship, right? They've acknowledged in the last part, Subaru acknowledged that they're friends. But even when he did that, that didn't solve the issue. He was calling him a friend, but he wasn't like treating him like a friend.
Yeah.
And in this one now, he's like, listen, I'm a friend. He's like, use me. He's like, oh, you wouldn't understand. He's like, well, I don't need to understand. And then even in this, we see now Otto helping him without having any idea what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, that ending with him and Garfield in the room, just like, hey, I'm here to do my part of the plan. Like, that was the first moment when I looked at Otto, I was like, holy shit, he's got a little bit of badass.
Yeah, this was a fucking carriage driver side character in season 1. And I'm like, wait a minute now. He's just like he's just full out here.
Yeah, he's got a little villain smile going, just like, what the hell?
Now, to be fair, he does not know that he could be absolutely murdered right now by Garfield. We've already seen Garfield murder him.
I mean, I feel like everyone knows that Garfield can murder whoever the fuck he pleases.
It's true, but we have literally also seen him murder him. So we're like, I wouldn't do that, Otto. Like, stay back, man. He's going to turn into a big field.
The problem is...
That's his real transformation
power.
God
damn it. I think the big problem is I don't think Garfield's just going to bust that out on his own unless he has a very specific reason to.
I hope not.
And just like painting the walls with Otto, I don't think is going to be his plan.
So obviously the thing is this the last time in this loop? Shit's going like with like stuff like the Puck being gone now. It seems like we're not going back again.
Yeah, they put enough emphasis on that I don't think we're gonna see that again.
Obviously, the biggest question of the thing is a lot of the plot revolves around the name of the episode, which is what, Straight Bet.
Yeah.
Which is a bet with Roswell saying, hey, I bet you that I can basically save both these things, because the whole point is Roswell wants to strengthen Subaru's character. He wants to make him more like himself by forcing him to choose one side to save. You can either save, Rem, and, I guess who would the Frederica, or whatever her name is, and Petra.
Petra, and I wanted to say Charlotte, but I feel like
no, I think it's Frederica.
That sounds really right.
But it's like you can either save them at the mansion, or you can save Amelia and like the sanctuary, right?
Yeah.
You only one of the two. So Subaru makes a bet saying, hey, I'm going to save both of them, and if I save both of them, you like fucking throw your book out and you actually help Amelia win this goddamn election.
Yeah, stop being a dick. Stop following a book you don't know what the hell it is.
Yeah, and then obviously the thing is, Roswell thinks there's no chance in the world that they could possibly lose, so he takes the bet.
Yeah.
And then a lot of the episode is you don't know Subaru's plan, which I like. I like when you don't know the plan, because we can obviously see that this time he's taking a much keener interest in Amelia. He's genuinely asking her what she saw, what happened, and that's where we're getting some of her backstory. Obviously, very sad part, when she's sleeping, he talks to Puck, and then you don't know exactly what's going on. Then it just skips to Puck and her talking, and then Puck decides to leave. So you're like, wait, what did they talk about?
Yeah.
And then even sadder, she says, hey, Subaru, can you stay with me all night? And he's like, yeah, I won't leave.
And he doesn't.
And then she wakes up and she's like, you're all liars. Mom's a liar. She's like, Subaru's a liar. And then she goes missing. And then, so you see a couple things everyone's looking for, that kind of stuff. She's back inside the thing. And then Subaru finds her at the very end. And then he looks roughed up. So it's like, what the, obviously next episode, we're going to figure out what the fuck happened. But we're missing this big chunk of whatever he discussed with Puck. And then we're missing the big chunk as to why he would possibly leave Amelia. There's obviously going to be a good reason. He wasn't just being a dick or anything like that.
He's not going to just leave her on her own after making that promise. And
yeah, but this is the kind of information we need. And it was a nice little cliffhanger. You get the auto discussion with Garfield. A lot of the episode actually focuses around Subaru's discussion with Ryuzu or whatever her name is. I think
Ryuzu, though.
Yeah, about the different ones. And then there's the Shima one, who was the white one who got who was taken away from being one of the main girls.
She acted in her own interest and was taken away.
Yeah, which she acted in her own interest to. What was it to do? Was it to save Garfield?
Yeah. She entered the.
She entered the trial place.
Yeah, she entered the trial place to pull him out after he tried to do it himself.
Yeah, and that's why she got outcasted, and that's why he's obviously very close to her.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's some of these big questions, like what did Subaru talk with Puck? Like, why is Puck now leaving Amelia?
Well, they did mention that. He specifically said, "I'm leaving you now, so because once I'm gone, the steel in your memories will fade."
Yeah, the steel in your memories will fade, and he's also like, you can now be taking care of the person who loves you second most only to me, which obviously is Subaru.
Yeah, which that is just screams a parent passing you on to your.
But there's still obviously a big piece missing from that conversation, or else they would have just showed it. They would have just showed Subaru talking to Puck and Puck being like, "Hey, I have a seal in her memories. If I go, she'll gain them back." And Subaru's like, "Oh, okay, are you sure you want to do that? That'll upset her." He's like, "Yeah, no big deal."
Yeah,
there's obviously a missing piece.
I'm willing to bet, based on everything we've seen, Amelia was probably responsible for all our people being frozen in ice.
And probably based off the fact that she's kind of icy.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things that could be the red herring, I think, is that we're kind of led to believe that her iciness comes from Puck.
Kind of, yeah.
Especially with everything that's happened in the past, with Puck being the big monster that's freezing everything and just kill Subaru and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but even then, I really felt like that was more like Puck, like, okay, yeah, you fucked up and now she's gone nuts.
Yeah, that's also the possibility, is that Amelia is the one doing it. And it's kind of like the red herring thinking that, hey, Puck's the icy guy, but it's actually her.
Yeah, he's just a conduit for the magic. He doesn't actually provide it.
Yeah, now one of the big questions, obviously, Puck's been gone for a long time. But Subaru needs to talk to Puck. So what's he going to do? He's going to go try and strangle Amelia. So that was a nice, fun scene.
Yeah, I wasn't...
To be fair, he didn't get anywhere. He's like, well, I got to do it. And he basically just got his hands around when fucking... He got a little iced.
Yeah, like I feel like Puck knew he wasn't going to do anything, but it's still a matter of course. It's like he has to hurt you.
Yeah, and I mean, we've seen Puck, kill Subaru before. So...
I mean, we've seen a lot of things kill Subaru before. So.
That's true. Yeah, it was a very good episode. It had a lot happen though. It's even hard just trying to keep all track of every little thing. There's so many of these little parts, but there's so much missing, and that's the big thing. I think that with all the information we got and with like the sad goodbye to Puck and that kind of stuff, I don't think we're gonna be reliving this one.
No, there's no way they're gonna cheapen that by making us go through it again, because Puck would have to leave every time to keep that going.
Now, do you have any theories on how he's gonna do this? Right now, my only theory is the whole point about. You help Amelia so that she breaks the trial thing with the sanctuary, and then they all go to help. But there's got to be something that I'm missing, right? With the whole plan, with discussing stuff with like Shima and the Ryuzus, and
yeah, I mean, with him having just gotten his teeth kicked in or roughed up or whatever happened, there's really only two ways I can think of that happening. One is he picked a fight with Ram somehow. Alternative two is that he went and did the next step of the trial.
That's possible, but wouldn't him doing he can't do the trial anymore?
Yeah, right.
Though.
He lost that.
He lost that when he turned down her offer. Plus, I was going to say that would kind of take away from the like getting Amelia to do it. Like she kind of has to do it. Like this is the shit she has to get over.
Yeah, because how many stages are left in the trial? Is it just the one, or is it?
I normally, my guess is always that there's three of anything.
Yeah,
things aren't normally a pair; they're always a trio. But at this point, I don't think if it's taking this long for her to do the second stage, or has she even finished the first one?
She did the first one, I think.
Okay, I wasn't sure if she finished or if she quit because it was too emotional for her.
No, wait, the first one was Subaru going to talk to his parents.
Yeah, I think the first one is basically dealing with your past, and she can't do that.
Yeah, so no, she's still in stage one.
Yeah.
And we don't even know what stage two is technically.
No, we do not.
So the other theory would be that he's gone to have another tea party.
I can't imagine, but he wouldn't actually get roughed up at said tea party.
We don't know that. He seemed to get pretty banged up in the last one.
And like, what is the accomplishment from Otto either talking or trapping Garfield?
I think it's just taking him out of the equation.
Maybe that's the thing. There's so many little pieces of the puzzle in this episode. It's kind of hard to put them all together. But yeah, if the only way I can reasonably see him getting out of the loop in general is to finish the sanctuary stuff faster than people think is possible, right? One of the thoughts behind Roswell is that Amelia can't do this, or at least Amelia can't do this fast enough that it gives Subaru the option of doing both things.
Yeah.
So if he and it would be a nice little sentiment too that if he proves Roswell wrong. About Amelia especially, right? Like proving Roswell's wrong about his judgment that Amelia can't possibly do this fast enough. She's a stronger character than he even thinks because he wants Roswell to help her after this still to, become the successor to take over that kind of stuff. It would at least make sense. So that's the only way I can currently see this playing out. And then obviously with Roswell maybe now being on, well, I guess Roswell wouldn't be on his side as soon as he finishes this. But with Amelia, with Garfield maybe going to save his sister who's in the mansion who's going to die.
Yeah, I mean, for all we know, Otto's there to discuss going to save Frederick.
Yeah, now obviously we've seen these two characters, the two characters who were, the assassins or whatever like that.
Yeah.
Both very strong. Do you think even if they went with Amelia, Ram, Garfield, do you think they could still beat them though? Or do you think they could do enough to at least push them off?
I mean, the big thing is if they can get there in a time frame where they have time, there is a chance they could talk Roswell down and get him to call off the hit.
That's true. Maybe they'll like get there all the show enough, and right before they're gonna maybe lose, Roswell will come in and be like, nope, back off. We're good now. We're done.
Because a big part of this was Roswell said, like, we've already deviated from what the book says, so Subaru can get some traction.
Yeah.
I mean, for all we know, he'll get some traction at this point, and that'll set a new loop point, so he can go try and save the mansion.
Yeah, maybe like when he beats the sanctuary issue, that's like a new loop point there.
Yeah,
if each time he'll be starting from finishing the sanctuary to going to save the mansion.
Yeah, because it's not a matter of he's failed to do both. He hasn't succeeded at either task yet.
Yeah, because it's just not enough. The whole point is there's barely enough time to do one of these things, as we've learned.
Yeah.
Let alone enough time to do two. But I think that the whole issue, which is a lot of the point of especially season 2, is that Subaru tries to do too much shit alone. But now he's got Otto, so
having
foreknowledge make a difference.
Help, so
yeah. But yeah, I'm obviously excited for next week. This week had a lot of shit going on for a first episode back, which is, I think, with a lot of the shows on this week, some of the shows managed to pull in so much in a single. There was I think 3 separate shows where I checked the time to be like, is this only a 22-minute long episode?
Yeah, because they get so much done. They put so much content into one episode.
I was shocked. Obviously, we'll get into some of these other shows, but ReZero is one of the big ones where I was like, man, how did you fit all this into a 22-minute episode?
Yeah, this is stuff that would be a full arc in other shows, and you put it into one episode. It's like, and you didn't make it feel rushed. It's like, okay.
Yeah, so obviously, very good episode. I think that the season 2 part 2 is now going to be all high. It's just going to be really, really good.
They put a lot of setup into the first season.
And finally, we're going to prove all those Rem lovers wrong by making Amelia best girl. Everyone's all like, no. Rem's best girl. Yeah, you're going to think that because that's all we saw in season 1.
That's true. We got to see Amelia do like one thing.
Yeah, you see all of Rem's past. You see the stuff she's good at, the stuff she's bad at. You see her like confess her love to Subaru, all this kind of stuff. But that's season 2. We still got to, like, it started off being like, oh, this is going to be the Amelia season. But then she still got left behind for so much of it still. But now
that's true.
We're getting her past. We're seeing her fail. We're seeing her very emotional.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
I
think we're really going to convert some people this season.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of this, everyone's going to be saying Rem who?
Or people are going to be into Frederica because, furries. So, keep that in mind. But yeah, I think that's it for this episode of ReZero. We'll be talking about it next week. Obviously, like everything else, if you have any theories, comments, or anything like that, leave us down below, or leave it down below, and we'll comment back. Next up on the list is the third show we're talking about this week, which would be Promised Neverland.
New addition to the list. I didn't find an episode name for this one. Everything I had to list as episode 1. So
now we'll preface this by saying both of us watched all of Promised Neverland probably last week.
I watched it over the course of about a day and a half. So
yeah, I think it took me. I started it one day, finished it the next day. Luckily, being only like a 12 or 13 episode series, it was easy to do.
Yeah, honestly, from everything I'd heard, I thought it was going to be over 20 episodes. So.
Plus, it's definitely one of those shows that is hard to put down.
Once you start, you're not going to stop.
Yeah, so we had a friend who recommended it. I was always curious. I heard the plot. I was like, okay, that sounds like dark. I like some dark anime. So I was down to watch it, but then it was really the draw of season 2. Especially, I've heard a lot of things about how this arc, like every single arc in the manga, apparently is kind of like a different genre. And this arc, people said, was like way better than even the first one. So I was like, okay, like I'm gonna watch this just to be prepared for season 2. Plus, I think it has a lot of intrigue and draw on the podcast. just the type of anime it is. So that was a good thing. And yeah, I actually really, really liked season 1. Some of the characters were like some really, really good characters. And then I had a lot of theories going at the end of season 1, and then we had season 2 start, and the season 2 episode started like just so fast.
Yeah, they just did not give a shit. They just jumped straight into it.
I remember finishing season 1, and my thoughts were like, okay, like is season 2 going to take like a little bit of a time skip, like like a month or something like that, to show that they've kind of been living here and like the dangers and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, are they going to have established something? Are they going to have a settlement?
Or are we going to go right into just them? Is it going to literally start off with them leaving the wall? It starts off with like a couple hours, I suppose, after. But the first shot is just them running away from a fucking huge ass monster trying to eat them.
Yeah, they didn't even try and build up any suspense. Like the first season had that little bit of lead up until you got to see the first demon, and then this one's just like, yeah, no. Like even before they run the opening credits, the last line is "Freedom is so so free, liberating but cruel."
Yeah.
So it's like, oh my god.
Yeah, so it literally starts off with them being chased by a demon, with no I have no idea why they're there or how this started, and then it kind of backtracks a few hours. You see basically them learning to survive. A lot of the episode focuses around the was it William Minerva?
William Minerva, yeah.
The books and the codes and the clues he left, that kind of stuff. Basically, a survival guide for when you leave. Yeah. It tells them about like certain plants that hold water, stuff like that.
I do want to say one thing. It wasn't just really convenient they happened to bring the one book that served as a wilderness survival guide.
Well, now that was the one they were curious about because it was the only one that wasn't part of the code, but it was still by him.
True.
So I think that was like the thing that they mentioned it last time, is that it had I think it was promise was the code word for it.
Yeah.
And obviously the show being called Promise Neverland. Promise
I know.
is a pretty
I
big
just
one
kind of
to
laughed
us.
a little bit at that. It's like, okay, you just happen to bring along.
But yeah, one of these days, if we have time, we'll do like a full discussion on season 1, because there's a couple things that are pretty important. One of them, being a couple different characters, like Norman, for instance. Yeah. Not a chance Norman's dead. I'm gonna say that right now.
Yeah, he's either working for them or he's suspended animation.
In like some future season, he's 100% gonna come back as a bad guy, and you hate to see it because Norman was my favorite character.
The thing is, he's not going to be a bad guy. He's going to roll up as part of the bad guy's crew, and is going to turn on them because fucking Emma's on the other side.
It's true, but I think he could be a bad guy secret agent or double agent kind of thing. Yeah. But as I was discussing with my friend the one day, I was like, there's no way that Norman's dead, and then there's no way that they don't try and use the plot line that he's bad now. Yeah,
it's going to turn out he's William Minerva's protege, and he's taking over his torch and helping people out.
But yeah, this episode is a lot of them surviving outside. Yeah. They get into danger real fast. This demon runs into them. They flee, and right as Ray figures out a chance how to trap the demon in a never-ending pitfall, it gets its head cut off, and you're like, oh. Yeah, you're like, that's not good. And then you see the actual demon tracking party, one with a giant sword, and then a couple of demon dogs who were doing the tracking. Yeah, they kind of show up. Ray's getting fucked. I don't know how he outruns these dogs to begin with. He's doing really good.
It's implied that it's a strategy, like, because even when they were playing tag in the first season, it was very much he isn't necessarily stronger, faster, or smarter. Yeah, he just knows how to play people.
One of the big things, Ray had the most character development in this episode. I know it's only episode 1. But obviously, season 1, he wanted to leave most of the family behind because they just couldn't do it. You can't disagree with his logic. You have I think the crew is 5+. They left all the younger ones behind. Yeah, even so, you're talking a large group of children running away, and while him, Emma, and Norman were superb for their ages, the other ones are not all that great.
Yeah, and you have to remember the original plan was to bring everyone.
Yeah,
that includes about 8 to 10 people who can't even stand on their own.
Yeah, so you can't disagree with his logic, but in this episode, while running from the original demon that shows up, it showed like Dawn and Gilda, their strategies that they've been working on even without Ray knowing during tag to like escape this thing. He sees that and he's like, oh shit. He's like, they've gotten a lot better. Yeah. So he acknowledges that, hey, I was wrong. He's like, I will never doubt these people again. He's like, I will do everything to save all of us. Yeah. So he's grown a lot from season 1, really fast in episode number 1, which is good. But right before he's about to get absolutely goofed, he's not killed. He just would have been taken.
They would have just picked him up and went and fed him to
someone. He was the highest quality there.
Supposedly, yeah.
Not to mention, obviously, the twist at the end of season 1 that I called. He was the son of the lady. But they're just about to take him, and then someone on a horseback shows up and saves him. At the same time, Emma, who's about to go back for Ray in a different part of the forest, passes out due to her ear's been bleeding, so blood loss or
I'm willing to bet part of it's infection because she had a fever too. So
Yeah, some sort of infection.
it's almost like cutting off your ear isn't the best way to do that.
Yeah. Do not try that at home. That's not good.
I get it. They were in a bad situation. She had to rush.
Yeah. Well, everyone else had the tracking device good, and
Yeah,
so.
I feel like she could have carried the freaking taser box around with her and done it, but
I think that with the amount of kids they had, it probably took them a long time from the point of them waking up, escaping the house, to then getting all of their things off.
true.
But yeah, so she passes out, and someone comes in to help them. It's a lady with a hood. You can't see her face. That's not sus at all.
Yeah, my first instinct was like, is this going to be a trap and that's a demon trying to eat them?
So the question of is it going to be a trap is still there.
Yep.
Ray wakes up and he finds Emma. They're all in one place. The girl comes in and says, "Hey, I'll lead you to everyone else. They're like eating currently." And then Ray's like, "Hey, why are demons helping humans?" Because he notices her feet, or Emma notices her feet. Then after, it was already obvious to us as the viewers that she was a demon. Same with the other guy, and then he's behind them. But the question and the cliffhanger is still there: is that are these demons who are helping humans, or is this some sort of nefarious trap? So
yeah, there's a couple ways it could be because they've established that there's rival clans competing for something, right?
And these they have really good meat and the highest quality meat there, so they could just be getting ready to farm all these kids, or these could be like. For all you know, the demon guy is going to end up being like William Minerva. He's like as a demon the whole time, vegetarian.
I mean, they did ask about that, and they specifically say we don't know who that is. I don't know if that's maybe to throw us off. Or
Yeah, the girl does say like, nah, I've never heard of him. But like she's acting so suspicious, and I know that's obviously because she's a demon. Yeah. But at the same time, it definitely there's like this vibe where like this could all be very bad.
Yeah.
One of the only things that's leaning me in the sense it's not is if you've watched the opening, which was a very good opening, by the way. Behind them, when it's like showing all the kids running on a hill and like a good time, there is a dude with the cape and the cloak and that kind of stuff, leading to him probably being a good guy.
I mean, there's a good chance they're going to try and build the demons up to be more complicated than they've been portrayed, and that maybe they don't all like to eat brains and murder people. And
listen, there are vegetarians and vegans in every single system, probably. So maybe these are some of them. Maybe or they just eat animals. They've like, hey, you know what? We enjoy animal brains. We survive off that.
Yeah, that is definitely possible.
So it was a good episode. As I said, it started off really action-packed. I wouldn't say it was like a mind-blowing episode. It was missing some of the things that made season one really good. More of the emotional drama. But there's a good chance that, as I said, where people mentioned that a lot of the arcs change genres, there's a good chance that it just feels a little different because this is going to be a whole new genre. This is a much more like when you get into later seasons like The Walking Dead and stuff like that. Yeah. This is now a survival anime about these people having to live in like a demon-filled world, probably more political drama eventually coming up.
Yeah, because the first one was more of a prison break come ticking clock mechanic type.
Yeah, with this like overarching like dread looming, right? Where you have a time set before someone's about to be absolutely killed and eaten. You have characters being lost, like Norman, if he's actually lost. And you literally have your enemy watching you at all times. Yeah. So it was like there was this like vibe the entire season, and this one's very much changed. It's still you're watching this with like oh no, like everything feels bad because you don't trust anything. But it's like a different type than the first one, not a bad one, just very different.
Yeah, I mean there is still that ticking clock mechanic with all the kids that are left behind, but
yeah, now that's like the hardest part is like they need to go back for all these like 4-year-old and unders at some point.
Yeah, which I do want to note. Phil is best boy.
Okay, so yeah, I don't want to talk too much about season one until it's an actual episode, but we had so many, I had so many doubts as to whether or not Phil was going to end up being a good character or a bad character. And I know what you're thinking. You're wondering, why am I questioning whether or not this 4-year-old is going to be a bad guy? But they hint so much throughout the show.
Yeah.
They drop these hints a couple times where you see Phil looking at stuff that none of the other characters notice except for like the main crew and like the mom. They mentioned offhandedly once that his test scores are really good. And like they're making all these little references. I'm like, oh fuck, Phil's gonna turn out to be a little fucking snitch. He's gonna end up being a bad guy. I don't know why I'm so sus at this 4-year-old. And then even at the very end, for like a split second, they literally allude to him being a bad guy. They're like, he stayed behind, and you're like, oh fucking Phil, I knew it, you little monster. But then it's revealed that he's actually a really good guy. He is as smart as I thought, but he's using his smarts on the human side, which makes way more sense. I don't know why I'm so sus with a 4-year-old.
Yeah, they went to explain everything to him. He's like, oh, okay, so I was right. It's like, wait, what?
Yeah, so he kind of had a suspicion, after everything happened, and he's still very smart, and all the hints were there for a reason. But it was more to be the fact that he's going to be like in the group, but they're all like 4 and under staying there because they can't bring them along. but he knows what's happening at least, so he can try and even stuff like train these kids a little bit better as they start to age.
Because think about it, because they've got what 2 years before Phil's going to be harvested.
Well,
they established
they at least a guaranteed. But the thing is, they've harvested kids at like 6, but only like the dumb ones.
Yeah.
Phil, based off his intelligence, he's probably not going to be harvested till the maximum age, which is what, 12.
Yeah, I mean that's assuming they don't get pressured to put out some high quality meat early.
Yeah, but they had specifically mentioned that this place is one of the places that is known for having the best. So there's a good chance they're not going to rush. There's a good chance they're going to actually have to wait it out. Now that's just their guesses. It could be the opposite, right? It could be, hey, now you have no meat to give us. You have to start giving us something. But even then, it wouldn't be Phil. And not that I'm sure that Phil doesn't want any of them to be taken and eaten. But yeah, I mean, I don't think we're getting back to that for another couple seasons. Definitely not this season. In this season, the children need to learn how to survive on the outside. I definitely think eventually we're going to get a season of them that find the human settlement, and there's going to be a lot of political drama in this place.
Yeah, there's going to be like just even bringing people in from a meat farm. It's going to have some problems. So.
Yeah, at some point there's going to be humans eating other humans. That's my guess right now because the show's kind of fucked up, and they'll go there at some point. Yeah, and there's going to be some human that has been like, yeah, I agree with the demons. Humans are quite tasty. We're going to get one of those characters. I'm calling it right now ahead of time, even if it's like seasons ahead.
There's going to be a cannibalism card played at some point.
But the episode started off action-packed. It was really good. It still ended with that cliffhanger. I think it's more of a red herring cliffhanger. I think the demons are going to be good, is my guess.
I have a hard time believing that they would dedicate that much effort into getting them here and just saying, like, yeah, we're going to feed you to the demons now.
Yeah, unless they're like, hey, we're going to feed you to ourselves. We're going to, store you guys here. But I don't think that's going to be... I think that's kind of what we're maybe supposed to believe right now.
Yeah, because, again, they did have that talk about the meat was being prepared for a specific... plate or a specific person.
Yeah, the one or whatever his name was.
Yeah, so there's a chance that they're going to take the highest quality ones. Like, hey, we'll save all of you except for you because we're going to use you to gain favor.
Yeah, it was led to believe that Ray was going to be the one who was going to be fed to the one because he was the absolute top. And then Norman, obviously something happened to Norman before he was just about to get into the truck that that's where Connie went into, for instance.
Yeah,
and then died. So he was about to get in the truck, and she's like, no, come wait in this room. And he enters the room, it's light, and then he has a surprised face. Yeah. So obviously there's intrigue there. We'll get into more discussions about season 1 in a future episode. But yeah, that was episode 1 of season 2. Definitely good. A show that, we didn't even watch a week ago, and now it's something that's going to be on our weekly list. So obviously made a good impression. It's a good show to discuss weekly because there's going to be a lot of
discussion,
theories, high intensity action and drama and stuff like that. So I'm excited. Obviously, I'm excited to see where the next episode goes and where the season goes. I think other than that, we're done with that. So next up, that's it for this week's episodes, basically. As I said, we're going to have future ones, but right now we're just going to, give a couple first impressions of some of the other ones we watched until we run out of time. So we have a lot.
Yeah, I don't even know where to start with.
There was 3 or 4 isekai series, 2 slice of lifes, a couple shonen ones in a sense.
Yeah.
Now, once again, by the time we're recording this, there still hasn't been an airing of Log Horizon, Dr. Stone. I'm trying to think of any other ones. Reincarnated as a Slime.
Yeah. And other than that, it's mostly series I think Wave hasn't aired yet.
Yeah, Wave airs tomorrow or something like that. But so there are some ones that we have not seen yet. They don't air till next week. And then by next week, the end of that, we'll have our entire thing. So we'll have the season basically laid out. Yeah. Did you have a fan favorite for the week that we didn't discuss? Let's start with there.
I mean, this is one we're definitely not going to end up discussing, but for me, Horimiya was a huge one to see air.
I want to talk about Horimiya anyways. Yeah. I had no concept of what it's about. Obviously, slice of life.
Yeah.
We talked about this for ReZero, but I cannot believe that was one episode.
Yeah.
A regular slice of life, that would have been an entire season. You introduce the characters, you've shown how they're different than everyone else thought. They meet, they interact, they grow to like each other. You already see a rival love interest come in and get turned down. You already see their romance start to bloom.
Yeah.
It's you see everything in one episode. I'm like, how? Where are we going now?
Do you see why I was excited to see this get animated?
Yeah, not to mention, we got to talk this out, okay? Main boy, very cool, okay? Anime rarely does cool boys. I literally discussed...
Not as a protagonist, at the very least.
I discussed with my wife that she should watch this because she actually got into a lot of slice of life anime at one point. She watched Blue Spring Ride. She watched Orange. She watched a couple other ones. It was always either a horror anime or a romantic slice of life one that she liked. And I was like, yeah, you'd like this. But obviously the main point of the series is that there's 2 characters who are very different from their school lives and their outside lives. That's all it is, right? There's not really another plot that we know of right now. That's the main part, and that's all you need.
That's the basic setup. You've got Miyamura, who's a very gloomy.
He's the classic. Dorky. If you were watching this, he's the, he's got glasses, so he must be smart. He's quiet. He must be an otaku. Yeah, stuff like that, right? He's the very classic character. You'd basically take what was the other show? Bottom tier character. Yeah, Honozaki, wherever it was. Yeah,
slap a pair of glasses on him, and that's what you'd expect from him.
Yeah, and that's what you would think that this main character is. And then vice versa, you have the girl who's what?
Oh, Hori.
Hori, yes.
Yeah, literally the half of the title.
Yes, Hori. So she's the classic, popular girl, very cute, athletic, smart,
almost borderline Gyaru with how she's portrayed.
Yeah, and everyone thinks that she rarely ever does plans with anyone after school. Everyone's like, oh, she must be on like dates. She probably already has a boyfriend. She's so cool and so cute, that kind of stuff. And then a couple other side characters. You meet her friend a little bit. I don't remember what her name was, the blonde girl.
Oh, I can never remember her name, but you do meet Toru, who's the other love interest.
The purple-haired other love interest. Originally, he's like that character who I thought was going to be a dick because he had sport bands on his wrist.
I mean, that's a pretty fair...
That's like a subtype on anime. But even in this one episode, we see his character go all over the place, too. We see range from his side character.
I mean, yeah, there's he's in love with the main girl, and then he's actually buddies with the main guy.
And even like her friend, we get hints from right there. If you're going to try and tell me that her friend doesn't think that guy who hopped over the fence is hot and is looking for him at some point.
I'm not saying shit. So.
I'm just saying we already all know that's going to be a plot. But yeah, so obviously the big thing is that, while she is this person who everyone thinks is popular outside of school and that kind of stuff, really her mom is a very hard worker because she's a single mom, I'm assuming. Yeah. So she's always picking her brother up from school. Oh, was her dad live in America or something?
I'm trying not to say shit because I've read the manga as far as I can.
Okay, so. Well, either way, her mom is hard at work. So she goes to pick up her brother. She makes the dinner. She does the groceries. She cleans, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, she's very much a homebody. So
yes, exactly. And then on the opposite side, you have what's his name, Miyamura. Who everyone thinks is the otaku, and then she runs into him briefly, and he,
yeah. Well, he literally brings her little brother home after he fell. Yeah, and he's decked out. He's got his hair up. He's got tattoos.
He's got the piercings. Yeah. He literally has the piercing that goes from his ear to his lip.
Yeah.
He's got the hair up in like a. I don't know. He's just got like the ponytail going on. He obviously wears some like more like punk clothes. Yeah. Later in the episode, you learn he has fucking like a sleeve and tattoos. Which in Japan, do you know the population, the percentage of people who have tattoos in Japan?
Ridiculously
You can't
small.
even get into their fucking baths if you have tattoos for the most part. Because you know what happens if you have a tattoo? People think you're Yakuza. Yep. So I mean, that was already a very different character trait that you do not see. And even throughout the episodes, people are like, "Yo, why do you have those?" Like when he's talking with Toru, he's like, "Why'd you get those?" He's like, "I just kind of felt like it at the time." Yeah. He's like, "Oh, okay." Like, who even let you get these tattoos? You're not of age.
I think the laws are different in Japan concerning that. Okay. I think it's 16 and up. You can set for yourself.
They're not final grade of high school. They're like grade 11s to us,
effectively,
right? Yeah. But yeah, in the one episode, you meet these characters. They're not who that you think they are. Then you see the actual side of them they are. In the one episode, they really start to bond. Yeah. Basically, it starts off with just the brother. What's his name? Shota?
Sota.
I hope not Shoto. But
different genre.
He obviously likes Miyamura, so he asks him to come over. So as he keeps coming over and visiting, they kind of bond and they become friends. They both kind of decide at one point that they like who they are outside of school, and they're like, I don't want to tell anyone else about this. Yeah. A lot of it to me is that Hori, whatever the hell her name is, it just Hori? I'm sure there's a longer form, but they call her Hori.
I'm not going to lie. I feel like there is more to it, but they only ever refer to her as Hori.
Yeah. So a lot of it to her is probably like, hey, she's met this boy now. Guess what? He's secret hot. So she doesn't want the world to know. There's 100% going to be a plot line where the best friend is after this Cinderella story of the hot guy who jumped over the fence, and Hori knows who it is, but she doesn't want to tell her because she obviously likes him. I'm excited for all these plot lines.
Well, I mean, he even tells her, it's like, hey, I ran into her like dressed like this.
Yeah, he's like, I ran into her. And she's like, wait, dressed like that? And he's like, yeah, I didn't have enough time.
Where?
He's
when?
Like, but I don't think she would have recognized me. But she already looked like,
Yeah, she very much had that look of like, what the fuck do you mean someone else saw you?
And obviously the reverse, you have Toru, who full out tells Miyamura that he likes Hori. And Hori's like, like, go for it. Like, she wouldn't like me anyway. She's only been like placating me basically by inviting me over. that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Then, you know, he confesses her love to her. She turns him down in the first episode.
Yeah.
And then she gets mad at, what's his name? Miyamura.
Yeah.
You know, for even thinking that. Like, you're already seeing so much happen in one episode.
Yeah.
Mind blowing.
In terms of just raw progression, this is one of my favorite series. And to see it, because this actually had an OVA set done before, but it was done like shitty webcomic style.
Oh yeah, this looked fantastic. As I mentioned before, just with like the art and the opening and stuff like that, the colors that are used are really good.
Yeah, it was a lot more stylized than I expected, like in terms of the opening and the background colors.
Which I like. A lot of times you literally see the characters doing something, and then you see like they like color shift a little bit to like the one side. That was like an effect they used a lot, which was very cool. It was very stylized. But yeah, very good. Obviously, the one thing that you mentioned is that we probably won't be talking about it weekly, and that's just because it's a slice of life.
Yeah,
I said, if there's ever an episode that's really good, we can definitely put it into our random rotation spot. Or if you do for some reason want to see us talk about it every single week, just put your vote in the comments down below.
I mean, I said this before. I'm more than happy to gush about this show every week.
So Jimmy's praying that you guys vote for Horimiya. Next up, any other favorites? I think that one of the ones that surprised me, and people said it would surprise me, was actually Mushoku Tensei. Because it was an isekai, obviously, and like when you read the plot, it's really generic, and it was generic in a sense, but I've never seen it handled the same way.
Yeah.
Like you have the character who dies in an accident and it gets born in the other world, but not only are you seeing these multiple stages of him dying in the accident, it's not just him dead and then he comes up.
Yeah.
You're seeing like him slowly fade between the two worlds as he's narrating in his obviously much older voice. And then even when he goes into the child's body, you're seeing the whole episode takes place from when he's a child, like slowly learning and growing, even while it's still being narrated by the 30-something-year-old man.
Yeah, because that's the only voice he has at that point.
Some of the lines are obviously hilariously cheesy. Like, you know, he's still a pervert, which is like at one point he's like, I really like you. He's like mentioning like the boobs of his mom. And he's like, I really like to be able to suck on those. He's like, but I wasn't turned on though. I guess it's because it's my mom.
Yeah.
But, you know, like then he's after the maid and the maid has like, she's like, I think there's something wrong with him because he's like this like kid who's so weird. He puts like the panties on his head.
Yeah.
And he's chasing.
I mean, you could always argue like he's a kid, he doesn't understand, but it was just so on the nose.
There were just so many parts that like, obviously it was kind of stupid. It's an isekai where someone dies and comes to another world. But like the stuff where he's like slowly learning the magic because, you know, he's got this intelligence of a 3-year-old reading the book, but he, at the same time, he acknowledges the fact that he's picking stuff up fast. And he's like, well, it's because I'm a child, right? Like, yeah, children's brains are just insane when it comes to learning.
Yeah, he said something like it was 6 months before he had a basic understanding of the language. And
yeah, and even at the one point after he's learned the magic and he like uses it, the dad's like, you know, how he can't even read, and we're like, yeah, he can already read at this point. The dad just doesn't realize it.
Yeah,
but like some of the parts were so funny, like the sexual nature of the parents to me was really funny.
They're very much a young horny couple
because it's realistic. I mean, like, you see these anime parents all the time, and there's always hot anime parents. That's just a thing that's everywhere. But in this one, yeah, they're like young. He mentions it right there that these parents are younger than he was when he was alive.
They would have been kids to him, is what he said.
Yeah, and then like you literally at one point he's like reading in the bedroom, and he literally hears his parents having sex in the next room, and even after they get in fights, they always make up right away. There was just so many elements of this that were actually extremely well done. Now it's still an isekai, so we're still gonna see where it goes. He's obviously still getting really powerful. It's gonna be one of the power fantasies.
It was a better gradient than normal. Like he actually had to do some learning to figure out how this shit works. He didn't just go, bang, water bullet.
The thing was, I don't think he's just naturally born with tons of talent, but with the comprehensive knowledge he has from his age mixed with the child's brain. Like if you actually think realistically about how much you can get done in that same situation, obviously it's not something possible, but if it was, it would be insane.
Yeah.
He's not born like even something like the incantation thing where, you know, he can do the magic spells without an incantation. Most people think it's not possible.
Yeah.
It's because it probably is possible, but by the time that you're old enough in that world to even learn magic, you've probably already learned how it's done before like really attempting it. So you get like this block where you can't do it without it. So it's like realistic in somehow a very unrealistic manner.
Yeah, I mean, we have yet to see exactly how far they're going to go with the power scaling on this.
Yeah, I assume at the very end, obviously, he gets a magic tutor and he impresses her, and then they mention how, you know, he's going to have the magic tutoring in the morning and then the sword fighting in the afternoon.
Yeah.
So we're going to get to this point where he's both OP in both, I assume.
Yeah, I'm curious about how quickly they're going to age him up.
We've seen in the main art he's older than this. He looks like he's around like that 10-year-old age.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if that's going to be the age he sticks through throughout the entire show.
Like, that's still kind of on the young side for what they're going for with this. So
yeah, which was one of the things I was talking about when we discussed, you know, where the show could go, is that I don't love when you have like these 10-year-old characters. who are hypersexualized into being like perverts and stuff like that. I know that it's like a 30-year-old man in the body. Still kind of weird though. I would love it if they would at some point age him up a little bit more, at least like the 16, 18 range.
Yeah, I mean, for all we know, the art was chosen based on the fact that it'd be like the middle range of where he started from. So
yeah, but I don't mind if we get a long time of like slowly watching him age and progress, because like they did a decent amount. They probably did what, like 3 years, maybe 4 years in the first episode.
I mean, I think he's older than that. He's got to be like 4 or 5 at this point.
I would say like 4, because it was like the dad didn't even think he could read.
I mean, true, but this is like a fantasy world, right? So we don't know when you learn to read here, if at all.
That's true. My guess would be 4. But either way, like the episode, it was an isekai that sounded extremely generic. A lot of people pointed out like this isekai doesn't just sound like it's copying other things. It was like the first one, apparently. This was like the isekai that started it all, the one that wrote the trope about dying to a truck back when it was written. I think it just got animated now.
I'm kind of surprised it took him that long, actually.
Yeah, so I mean, it's kind of crazy, but I enjoyed it way more than I thought I was going to.
Yeah, I have to admit, I did, especially when we read the initial description
the
of
synopsis.
Like, I just thought I'm gonna slog through the first episode just so I can have a comment on it, and then
yeah. Now we'll very briefly cover some of the other isekais. They were very generic beside it. The hidden dungeon that only I can enter.
Oh God!
Dear God, that one. I'm still gonna watch it because I'm fucking a degenerate. But goddamn, with some of the parts, I saw some. I think Mother's Basement put up like a post where it was showing the scene where the girl decides, hey, you can only use, like, I heard that making out with women or will help with your headaches. And he like makes out with her, and he didn't even use the power yet at that point. And she's like, "Do you want to try again?" He's like, "Okay." And he still hadn't used the power. I'm like, "Shouldn't you use it and then make out?" Like,
yeah, like oh my God.
We're not gonna get into long topics. We have lots of things, but basically, it first starts around him having this power. And this, I'm not gonna lie, this is a power I think in my head all the time would be if I could choose one thing, where you just ask like basically a god in your head a question and it answers it no matter what it is.
Yeah.
I'm always like, that would be the coolest thing if I could just be like, hey, it's just like having Google in your head all the time, but it actually knows everything for a fact.
Yeah.
But he has that power, but the issue is when he uses it, he gets such bad headaches, it makes him want to die.
Yeah, which as someone who has experienced migraines, just suck it up, dude.
Yeah, his childhood friend though, says, "Hey, I actually read that great sage, the guy he can ask, he used to get over it he had multiple wives, right? So he would he would do sexual things with his wives or make out with his wives whenever he had the headache."
Yeah,
she's like, "Do you want to try?"
Yeah, I think her exact wording was he would demand kisses of his many wives.
Yeah, so she's like, "Do you want to try?" And he's like, "Okay." So you're already seeing these characters make out. And you're like, okay, I can see, we've read the synopsis, so what's going to happen is he wants to use his power all the time, so he has to make out with people. Simple plot. But no, then they take you for a twist. Yeah. He then uses this power to find the hidden dungeon only he can enter, finding a woman who's chained up, who then gives him her powers to, create, edit, all this kind of shit with skills. Yep. And then to use them, though, he needs like life points or LP, which he can replenish by being satisfied, whether that's through food, wine, sexual stuff with women. Now, once again, this anime did a couple stupid ass things. The whole point where he goes to like hug his sister to get some of the points back and like sleep on her lap. Come on, anime. Why you gotta be that way?
I mean, that's a trope at this point.
I know.
I'm not defending it, but
yeah, the show was very cringy in some senses. But as I said, I'm a degenerate and I'm gonna keep watching it because
yeah.
I don't understand why he didn't ask the great sage how he could get that girl out of the chains. I feel like the sage has to have an answer for that.
I mean, probably, but he doesn't want one.
I guess. But yeah, once a very
God.
generic plot.
He's gonna ask the sage the best way to earn like LP at some point.
Probably he's gonna cheat the system.
Yeah, they're just gonna say, "Go bang this chick."
Because literally after he uses this great sage power, the one good thing he was born with, the one time to find the dungeon, he hasn't used it again. Yeah. It's almost like the show saying like, "Hey, he's not gonna use that anymore." That was just the plot to get him to this point to get this stuff.
Yeah, and then literally one of the first things he does with this, like once he gets the new editor skill, is I'm gonna go fight a level 99 enemy for fucking.
The
materials.
thing is too, if they actually never use the great sage ability again, the show literally could have just made it so he accidentally stumbles onto this hidden dungeon and then gets this power. So I'm like, what was the point of the other?
It's gonna be there just for plot convenience. Like, oh shit, we need something. Oh wait, I could just ask God.
Yeah, I mean, he could have. If he can edit skills, can't he edit his own skill to somehow no longer give him headaches or something? Like,
he's gonna figure that out in like 3 episodes.
Probably. Very generic isekai, very obviously ecchi and sexualized.
The thing is,
still gonna watch it.
It's not an isekai.
Oh yeah, technically, sorry, it's just a fantasy.
Yeah,
he's born in this world. There's no other world as far as he knows.
That's the sad thing about it. It's not even an isekai. It doesn't even have that shield to play.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what to say. If you've heard the description of it, That was one of the ones that we laughed while reading.
It very much reminds me of like Peter Grill from like last season, I think.
I hope there's more plot than Peter Grill, especially since they have 22 minutes instead of 11. But
I don't.
As I said, I'm going to watch it anyways. I can't imagine that's something we talk about. But if you want us to talk about it, you still have a vote. So let us know. I'm just going to watch it every week.
I mean, we watched King's Raid. I mean, we've watched worse.
That's true. We did. Speaking of King's Raid, I did watch the newest episode of King's Raid.
Same, actually.
It was actually a pretty action-packed episode. Obviously, King's Raid is something we've been talking about weekly. We decided that we're probably going to drop it because there's so many other shows. But this was actually a surprisingly good episode. You had a lot of the Dark Elf stuff. A lot of characters died.
Most of the Dark Elves died.
Yeah, and then we kind of switched to Castle, and it got boring again. But
I feel really bad that the main character of this show is so goddamn boring.
Yeah, the only thing that we learned is something that apparently we learned early. He's supposed to meet with someone named like Pavel in like the northern ice mountains or something.
Cool. And
that's for like the third seal. So,
all right, cool.
Yeah, the most important part were really just the Dark Elf parts. But yeah, even though it was like an okay episode compared to many of the other ones, definitely I still think every other first episode this week I probably enjoyed more.
Yeah,
and that's including the one where he has to make out with girls for LP.
I would go that far, maybe.
Another one on the isekai list was the Lost Dungeon, or Last Dungeon. The kid from the Last Dungeon, Boonies, wherever it is.
Yeah. What if a kid from the Last Town?
Last Dungeon Boonies went to a starter town, or light novel title. I'm not gonna lie. That was one of I think the first new anime I watched this.
It was the first
week.
one to drop, actually.
I was
one of.
Once again, very happy with the character art. It looked very good. Like the colors and all that kind of stuff looked fantastic, and I actually really enjoyed it. It was still very generic power fantasy. This kid's OP from living this town, even though he thinks he's weak. It's like the funniness, right?
Yeah,
he thinks he sucks, but he's actually the best.
But he's dropping ancient rune magic to clean stuff, and
there were still a lot of funny elements, right? Like the teacher witch that he goes to live with, and then like his elder in town coming in, like the classic lolly elder from anime.
Yeah, like why is everyone obsessed with this at this point?
I don't know, but there were like still some funny parts, like whenever there's the one girl when they're at like the night entrance exam. And she's just like sitting beside him, like terrified because of the power. She's like, why is no one else reacting to this?
Yeah, she has the experience to know when something's fucking dangerous, and she's like, why is the fucking demigod sitting next to me?
Yeah, and then at one point it shows like one of the captains or something who's doing the test, and he's like, who is that guy? Like, there are some people that just like completely react to it, and then no one else notices.
She specifically says to him, like, who the hell is that? He's like, I don't know, he's a volunteer.
Yeah, like obviously he saves what was her name? Stupid.
They call her Belt Princess.
Yeah, the Belt Princess. He saves her at one point and like literally saves her life because her whole life has been determined by the fact she was born with belts on her head.
Was she born with it, or was it a cursed item that got attached to her?
It seemed like, I hope she wasn't born with it because that sounds painful.
Well, you said born. That's why I was like, wait, what?
Either born or had it from a young age. It determined her whole life, basically. She's like an embarrassment to all the other royals and that kind of stuff. But then by him running into her and like patting her head with the cloth, which was like a cloth of like removal spells or some shit.
Yeah, it was the cleaning cloth, right? That had the cleansing rune that could remove any curse.
Yeah. So he solves her life problem by accident in an instant. So she's obviously obsessed with him.
Yeah, she went and got a haircut.
She's immediately like jealous of the lady he meets, who's going to be part of their like.
He gave birth to a yandere.
Yeah. Yep.
The first girl in the show is a yandere, and I don't know how to feel about that.
I can't name things specifically about this. I'm once again, it's probably not gonna be ones we talk about unless you vote for it.
Yeah.
But it still had a lot of things I liked, like the colors, the animation, the character art, all that kind of stuff. I still really enjoyed.
Yeah, I'm actually really fond of the character design, and the fact that they didn't milk the belt thing felt kind of good.
Good. I did not want. I know that anime loves their weird character designs with their belts and straps everywhere, but I didn't want the main girl to just have belts all over her head. Yeah. I'm glad that's out of here, episode number 1.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was good. We're still going to watch it each week, but probably not going to be something we talk about unless you vote for it, and then we'll think about it.
Yeah, for all we know, it's going to change up the formula a little bit, because this is another one that isn't technically an isekai. This is just a fantasy story.
A fantasy, yeah. Next up would be Quintessential Quintuplets, season 2. Well,
to finish off the isekai, shouldn't we touch base on Spider Isekai?
Oh, fuck yeah. I kind of forgot that was the thing.
And that's the review in a nutshell, people.
Spider Isekai is really hard to judge from its first episode. It started normal. You see a classroom, you don't know who the character is, but
quote unquote normal. Let's go with that.
Yeah, you see the classroom, something happens, like explosion or something like that, and then the character is waking up as a spider. Yeah. You get some weird shit like seeing all of her brothers and sisters eat each other, like cannibalism. Yeah, and you have the classic like Bofuri kind of situation where as she slowly stumbles into things, she gains new skills.
Yeah.
Very generic. To me, the big twist was like at the end.
Yeah.
You see a bunch of like royal characters kind of introducing each other, and then they're all talking about how they are like reincarnated.
Yeah,
one is even specifically mentioned that he is a guy who's in the girl's body, which I think was led to believe that this is the classroom.
Yeah, it's everyone who died in that classroom has been reincarnated in this world.
The thing to me that makes no sense, though, is if they all died at the same time, why is the spider just being born and they've already all been born like 14, 15 years ago?
I mean, we don't know if they were born that way or if they just popped into these bodies.
I think they were born, like I assume based off the spider, they were in fact born that way, not to mention that they've all they all know each other, like their families, all this kind of stuff. Like they seem like
they don't, though.
Well, they seem like they have information as to who they are.
Well, no, because the one person that was apparently the teacher is like, hey, I'm going to introduce you to someone. And they're like, hey, these are two of your fellow students.
Yeah, but not each other, but like they seem to know who they are themselves. Like they've been raised into that family and born to an extent. And maybe they are just now meeting the other people who they realize is like who is part of the class.
I mean, that's possible.
We're probably going to figure out in future episodes if like something happened or for some reason the person who's the spider was born later than everyone else, or
yeah, I mean it could be something specific to this time frame as well.
Yeah, they do also show the little monster that the one kid has on the shoulder is also one of the students being like, hey, we didn't know you could be reincarnated as a monster.
Yeah, well, even that, I think they're technically like a spirit or a summon or something like that. So, because they specifically say no one's been reborn as a monster.
Yeah.
So there is some sort of definition there.
But yeah, that was a twist. Obviously, I didn't see that one coming. So that could add this like new element to the isekai kind of thing, different than something like reincarnated as a slime.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, other than that, the episode was pretty slow, pretty generic overall. Yeah. Could have some twists down the road too that kind of liven it up, or some good character development.
I remember specifically when people recommended it in the comments, there were people that said it wasn't a generic isekai in the sense that they don't start off overpowered.
Yeah.
So she sinks all her points into the appraisal skill, which literally just tells her what something is. So she points at a rock. It's like it's just a rock, or that's just rock. A wall.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like she sank all her points at this. Is like, I guess this is the joke now.
Yeah. So I mean, she obviously still did some not overpowered things, but some strong things. She made some progress in the first episode. Yeah. But yeah, I think that I'm gonna need to watch more before I can really get a good gauge of how different it is than something like Slime.
Yeah, because my big question is she going to rejoin her classroom, or are we going to get more people that were born as spiders?
I assume she's going to rejoin her classroom. It just kind of comes down to the how and, which character is she going to be? Is she going to be like she is implied that she played a lot of video games. Yeah. So it's probably going to be that like otaku girl that no one talked to.
Probably.
Because all the other ones seem to like know each other. Like, oh, you're this person. Oh, wow. And they're like making fun of how they were, reborn as a woman or something along that line.
It's like, I can't believe you're the one who turned into a chick, and I can't believe you turned into a little dragon dog
thing. So I was still entertained the entire episode. It's just, it didn't necessarily stand out to me. For instance, something like Mushoku Tensei stood out to me more, probably as the isekai favorite out of the week. And then probably like the kid from the last dungeon Boonies.
Yeah, but they're very, very different in that sense. And then this one's kind of bringing a different flavor from that as well. So
yeah, and I'm excited when we get to Reincarnate as a Slime season 2. Those will probably I know that people say they're very different, but they're still probably going to be the ones that are competing with each other in a sense.
Yeah, because I mean, it's kind of the difference between someone who's just naturally gaining skills versus the guy who just eats everything. So
yeah, it did very much remind me of like Bofuri though, and how she obtains her skills and stuff like that was like very along the same line.
She was literally eating the frog thing, and it's just like, you've gained acid resistance. You've gained acid resistance.
Yeah, like as it's getting hit and stuff like that. Yeah.
Well, no, even when she was eating it, it said it.
Yeah, as she was eating it, when she was getting hit with it, a couple of the first couple acids actually gave some character marks. So like the eye and
it's gonna heal over. None of the other art shows her with that.
Oh, true.
So at some point she's gonna get either an upgrade or a regeneration ability that gets rid of it. Of course, it's gonna heal over.
Yeah, it wasn't a bad episode. It just didn't instantly blow my mind, but I'm definitely still gonna keep watching it. Yeah. So Quintessential Quintuplets.
Yeah, I know you wanted to talk about this one.
Yeah, I love Quintessential Quintuplets. First of all, I was trying to explain the concept to my wife today, and it's just like, yeah, I don't, the guy gets hired to tutor, and he's like, hey, this is like 5 times the payment, but then it's actually 5 times the girl. But I mean, like, what anime? Quintuplets and anime, genius. Okay, because obviously every anime has the fight for best girl.
Yeah.
And now when you have 5 girls that look the exact same, it means to make one best girl, they actually need to be different enough. That each one it's like a whole separate character. So anyone can pick people.
The big problem with this is that everyone talks about how they look identical. I don't know how anyone could mix these people up.
Yeah.
Even just the hairstyles alone.
If they all changed hairstyles, like if they all went back to the one hairstyle, then yes. But currently,
Yeah, but I mean
no.
that's generic moe art style. Like you can't tell them apart unless it's by the mnemonic devices or by the hairstyle.
Yeah. Obviously, one of the big revelations of this, we already knew from last season that the main character when he was younger was a very different character than he is now. He was the blonde bad boy, didn't really care about studies, was kind of cool.
Yeah.
And then he met like a girl, kind of changed it around from there. We already knew in the first season that it was one of the quintuplets.
Yeah,
obviously.
the format demands it.
Now, to me, there's one person who it 100% isn't, which is Nino.
Really?
Nino finds the picture of him in the first season and was like,
True.
man, I would like this kid. This dude's hot, which
That
is
is true.
weird because he's a kid at that point. She's like 6 years older.
I think it's just that he checks all the boxes.
Yeah,
she
she's
likes.
like, that's my type. But you would think that she probably would remember him.
That is true, actually.
Obviously, this episode very much is trying to make you think it's Itsuki.
Yeah.
You know, she seems sus about it. She's like, oh, you think that girl was one of us, don't you? And he's like, yeah. And then he at one point asks, like, hey, was this any of you? And no one responds.
Yeah. Have any of you met me in the past?
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like he could have been like, hey, pull out like his picture if he still has one, or anyone, and be like, hey, did any of you meet
still has it.
any of you meet this guy? And they would have been like, oh yeah, I met that guy once. We had a good date. And he'd be like, me. That was me. Obviously the revelation too that would have been really funny if Nino learned it too, thinking that he was hot before when she's like the biggest hater of him currently.
Yeah, and then she has that revelation. It's like, wait, that was you? What?
Yeah, that was a really funny arc in the first season of like the ski trip where she's like looking for this dude, and it was very funny. But yeah, the episode was good. It had a lot more plot than I thought it was going to. A lot of it focused around the backstory of him meeting this original girl and how that kind of day went, mixed with him full out coming out and trying to find out, like learning it's one of these girls as far as he knows at the beginning, trying to find out who it is, and at the end he's kind of like, nah, what was I thinking? It couldn't be one of these girls, but obviously.
Yeah, he has this mental image of her being a studious, intelligent person.
The obvious answer to me is that the show is always making, I think, Itsuki a little bit more of the main girl than all the rest of them.
Yeah.
But I don't want it to be her.
The thing is, if you ask anyone who Best Girl is, I think she's probably the one you get the least votes on.
Do you know who the number one's always going to be?
Miku?
Miku. 100%. It's going to be Miku.
You can call me basic if you like, but she's my favorite.
Yours. I think mine's probably the short-haired one. I don't remember her name, though.
Oh, Ino.
Sure. I know it's kind of weird to say that she's my favorite, and I don't know her name. For some reason, just like Yotsuba, Nino, Itsuki.
Yeah. I think there's more mnemonic.
Is my favorite the only name I can't think of?
What's the main guy's name?
I don't remember.
So there's two names you can't remember.
Yoshino. Totes. No. Don't remember. No, but I mean, like, she's my favorite girl out of the five of them. She's the only name I can't remember off a dime. I don't know why that is, but she didn't have as much I guess she had a little bit of screen time in the first one. He was trying to figure out whose tests, was, and then, she was the who done it. It was her, but hiding all of her tests and stuff like that. It was just a very entertaining episode. Like we've discussed with stuff like what's it called? Hiyamori, where the hell it's called?
Oh, Horimiya.
Horimiya. Like we discussed with that, it's a little bit harder to discuss slice of life animes weekly. We've tried before stuff like Usagi-chan.
Yeah. There's just not enough to go off of to have a full conversation unless we want to just gush about Best Girl for...
Yeah, which is probably why that's more likely to be something that's going to be filled into that rotating bonus slot at the end, just so we can have fun talking about an episode we enjoyed of the week.
Just like, hey, he figured something out.
But if for some reason that Quintessential Quintuplets is like, you're like, hey, I want to watch them talk about that weekly, then as I said with everything else, leave a vote down below. I'll make sure it's a pinned comment. Yeah. Now, what else did we have for the week? I don't know if you watched it. Did you watch 243 saying High School Boys Volleyball?
I did not, no.
Okay. We won't get into a big discussion. I'll just say that so far it has very much been what I thought, which is a character-driven story.
Yeah.
It actually got really deep. I don't know if I want to spoil it for you.
It is on my to-watch list. I just ran out of time before coming here.
Well, I'll give you a basic plot synopsis because if you remember the plot synopsis from the thing, it was A, generic, and B, way too long.
Yeah, it sounded like Haikyuu 2.0.
The two characters were really good friends when they were kids, and then one of them had to move away from I think the death of a parent or something along those lines. Right. And they were like best friends. They were really sad. And then at this point, they are moving back. The one moved back from Tokyo in high school, and the guy thinks they're going to be friends again, but his friend has completely changed. He's not like the more serious guy.
Right.
And you learn that the reason he's moved back is because he was the very serious setter at his old school, to the point where he made another kid try to commit suicide.
Jesus.
Yeah, so he was like pretty much pushing this one dude, almost like bullying him in like a sport kind of sense of trying to make him be better for their team, to the point where the kid didn't show up for a game because he attempted to kill himself. So that forced this kid to leave that school and move back to a small hometown. So now he's trying to start the volleyball team up there. But none of the volleyball team there takes it seriously. So he's trying to reteach his old friend how to play volleyball and trying to get these kids involved. There's there's like these sub characters too, like some bad boys who the main guy is friends with, who like, oh, don't play volleyball. They're like, don't be try hard sport volleyball, man, dude. That's fucking lame. And he's got to try and pick between his friend who wants to play volleyball. Much more character driven than something like Haikyuu. So it was very good. What else was there? We had
there was Kemono Jihen, which
okay.
Earlier.
I just watched that today. Yeah, so it wasn't even on one of our early like last week list for stuff we were gonna watch.
Yeah, I just kind of saw it in the Funimation list, and I was like, oh, let's watch this.
Okay, it gave me very much like a Dororo vibe in a sense. Right. I know that you didn't watch that.
Yeah, that's another one on my to watch list.
This was much more modern day. Obviously, that one took place in more of one of the old classic samurai times. But it was very good. I was surprised. I didn't know exactly what the plot was about. I think all I saw online that it was like a spooky detective.
Yeah, which I think even when I told you about it, when I mentioned it earlier, it was just very much like a dude from a supernatural detective agency. That's all I can really say without giving everything away. Yeah,
so it literally just starts off with a guy from a supernatural detective agency comes in, this innkeeper / like town matron summons him to take care of an issue. You find out that some birds and some livestock have been like, getting their guts eaten out. You meet this weird kid. I don't remember what his name was. It won't matter now.
They call him like Ratadobo or something like that.
Yeah, something like and then he's obviously not very liked. He just kind of works the fields. He smells weird. They don't like it.
Yeah.
You meet the innkeeper's son, who's kind of a douchey kid who wants to go to Tokyo.
Yeah.
And then basically it's leading now. That's kind of like the setup episode where you find out the kid is actually basically a half demon. At some point, a demon and a human mated, and I don't remember exactly what they call him. There's a term for it.
They use a very there was Jinken or
because it's the Kemono is like the demon. It's like the name for the demon, I think. But they have a different name for the half demon.
Yeah, like he's specifically the child of a ghoul and a human. Which I want to ask, who the fuck thought that was a good idea?
Maybe he's a hot ghoul, dude. The ghoul's gonna be a woman for sure, because only a male.
No, because the mother was human.
Oh, right, yeah. Well, then he's got to be a fucking hot ghoul boy. Listen, I've seen Nura Rise of the Yokai Clan, okay? There's some hot yokais in there.
I mean, you're not wrong. And then there's the whole Tokyo Ghoul audience probably foaming at the mouth of my comments.
So very much the main character, the young kid, is a half demon. He suppresses his power by his parents left him with this life stone that he keeps on him. The main detective, there's some obviously mystery in the first episode, but basically how it ends is the main detective takes this kid back. He fakes his death, takes him back to his like detective agency.
Yeah, there was the big scene where he says demon or ghouls don't die when you kill them, and then he makes it look like he killed them by shooting him in the forehead.
Yeah, basically they even dealing with the ghouls in the episode, they like cut their heads off, and then it's implied on the phone call in the car that they like bury them and that kind of stuff.
You bury them, you pack them in tight so they can't regenerate, and you just leave them.
Yeah, so how the show's setting up is now they're back in Tokyo. At the very end, he meets these two new characters, probably also going to be half demons, I assume.
Because even the main character is the main guy.
Detective, is also
he calls himself a Baka Tanuki or
I'm 100% assuming that he's half Tanuki.
Yeah,
based on what we've seen.
Especially considering he uses an illusionary gun to fight.
And his tail was kind of Tanuki like.
Yeah.
But yeah, the other two kids interested in it are probably going to be the same. And the show just looks like it's going to be solving demon related mysteries. I think it's going to have a very different vibe than something like Jujutsu Kaisen.
I'm almost getting what was the show? The guy with Ears of Sand. Could talk to demons.
Yes, I know what did it have a cult in the name?
I think so, yeah.
I know which one you're talking about though. The only one that can understand like the yokai speak kind of thing in Japan. Yeah. He went to work at like the underground subway thingy. I know what you're talking about, yeah.
I feel like we're going to get something similar to that.
Yeah, I'm hoping that it's more mystery than shonen. Like, even the fight in this wasn't much of a fight. The kid just kind of wrecked them because he's strong, obviously. Yeah. And I am hoping that the mystery element is a little bit more involved.
Yeah, because even this was more of a whodunit setup. It wasn't very spooky or dark or anything like that. So.
Yeah, which is good. And, everything seems like it's going to be a little bit more lighthearted when they get to Tokyo. Then you have like the creepy small town in Japan kind of shit, Yeah,
like the main character got his little makeover, which includes like a skeleton hoodie.
Yeah, the full like skeleton onesie looking thing. I've seen the art, and that's what he keeps wearing. He needs that character outfit.
I mean, you have to have something for people to cosplay.
I did really like the episode, though. It's definitely something we'll watch. It's something that if you guys haven't, obviously, it's not something that I've heard tons about or being like extremely mainstream.
I don't think I heard any hype about this at all.
But it was one of the better ones of the week. So if you guys haven't watched it, go check it out. It's like a Funimation exclusive.
Yeah.
So watch it on Funimation, and then if you watch it and you want us to talk about it weekly, because it does seem like there's going to be a decent mystery element to it, then vote for that down below and let us know what you thought about the episode.
Oh yeah.
What else did we watch in the week? There's got to be more.
Let's see. I watched Back Arrow. I know you didn't get through it.
I didn't. I watched like 5 minutes, and just to briefly summarize this, it's not that it was bad. It was just like old. You know, like they're like, hey, there's two empires. They don't like each other. One's like cares about smarts, and one cares about valor. Some sort of space package dropped with some beams armbands that turn into robots, and the main guy goes in and turns into a robot. Then all the other guy turns into robots. It wasn't bad.
You didn't even get to the main character, did you?
Is he the one who drops from the sky?
Yes.
I did not know.
Okay, yeah. So the dude names himself Back Arrow just because that's 2 words he heard. And it's basically the most Trigger anime to not be done by Trigger.
Yeah, as I said, someone in the comments mentioned the one day that it's the same director from Code Geass, the same writer from Kill la Kill, which was Trigger, and then Studio Voln or whatever the hell it is.
Studio Voln, which is, as far as I can know, best known for So I Want to Eat Your Pancreas.
Yeah, which I've never actually seen.
Same, actually. It's one of those shows I've never actually gotten a hold of. So
yeah, so it's not that it was bad. Okay, I didn't give it a fair chance. I was kind of animated out at the time. I'm sure this week I'll go back and watch it. But yeah, if you're loving that, let us know down below. Obviously, someone really wanted to talk about it because they mentioned that whole comment last week, which makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to see if there's anything on here that we missed.
Definitely going to keep watching it.
Oh my God, there's one obvious one that we missed. It's the only one we've missed so far.
Oh?
The very last thing we'll talk about today real quick is something that every single person recommended. And I'm not going to lie, I did not love the first episode.
Oh, don't make me trash talk this.
Otherside Picnic, which is Otherside Picnic.
It's bad.
Okay, so let us preface this. It's only 1 episode in, but literally the episode where we asked people to recommend, every single person's list they want us to talk about weekly included this. And then like when people explained it, I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm actually kind of interested now. I thought it, had picnic in the name. I thought it was going to be like laid back camp out with picnics.
Yeah, I knew it wasn't going to be that from the description.
But then when you read the description, it became much more mystery oriented. There's another world or a dimension that's attached to theirs with like monsters and stuff.
Yeah, you get there through random portals that either go through like random doorways or elevators.
And I hate to say it to all the people that want us to talk about this, but it was the only episode of the week where I did not enjoy watching it. Now it could just have a really slow start. Listen, I've seen anime before the first couple episodes I didn't love that really picked up. Something even like Decadence in episode 1 changed a lot episode 2.
For me, it's not even that. It's not even the premise. Like some of the things were actually pretty solid. It was the 3D animation that killed it for me. I don't want to be a snob.
It's funny because we're like opposite. I didn't really notice that so much. I thought it looked really good, like the character and that kind of stuff, and I didn't really notice the 3D animation or. But to me, it was like the story and that kind of stuff just like made no sense and dragged on. And
yeah, see, I'm someone who like it makes me think of like older JRPGs and certain things that very much focus on character design. I can get past that. Like the other world thing is intriguing enough that I can keep watching. But there was some random transition shots that were done by the 3D animation studio working on this that look like a second-year animation student's portfolio rejects. Like.
Yeah, maybe I need to go back through and give it like another watch.
There was just
and
like
see that,
blocky animation, and then I actually had to look up the studio for this. The 2 studios working on it are Leiden and Felix. Leiden didn't do anything crazy. They did like Yamada and the Seven Witches and all that.
Which I did enjoy.
You want to know what Felix is best known for?
What?
They did Nekopara, and they did the Berserk 3D animation.
Oh, nobody liked the Berserk 3D animation.
Yeah. It's just like, oh my God, no.
Okay, so we know Jimmy's main issue with it. My issue with it was that it was not interesting. I understand that there's
that too.
There's this like mystery element, but like for some reason none of the stuff was realistic. I know it's not supposed to be realistic, but none of the character interactions were. She meets this girl in there. There's like no real questions about it. You don't learn any of the backstory about this world, how these girls found them. Maybe that's something they're trying to save later. But I felt like this is actually one of those shows where I would have liked a better start. I would have liked her to show it her first time in discovering this other world.
Think about how much happens. Like think about how they just talk about how people just randomly walk in here, but nobody seems to know about it.
Yeah, that she somehow reads on a forum about this weird elevator situation to get there, and I'm like, that just doesn't really make tons of sense.
And then there's the fact that she's like, oh, I have a gun because you can just randomly find them here. It's like, what?
Yeah, I don't. The mystery to me, I understand there's mystery elements to it, but it wasn't a mystery that I'm like, man, I need to see more to figure out. I wish we would have started from a different spot where like one of the main girls is finding this place for the first time. How she, start with a girl on a computer looking at a forum, seeing something weird, reading it, trying something out, getting to this weird world, then encountering the monster.
Establish it with like them going there out of curiosity. Have it be a self-fallacy issue where they're falling victim to their own curiosity.
Yeah.
There's no reason for them to be there to start, at least not for the main girl.
Yeah, and it sounds like one of the main things is there's no reason to go back there. And I'm not going to feel as like as upset or I'm not going to feel as worried about what's going to happen to these girls in this world, because at this point now they're going there
for money
on purpose to try and get money from someone who will buy the weird cubes that happens when you hit them with the salt. It's just it was very weird. As I said, I'm going to keep watching it to see if I like it more as it goes on. Maybe we're going to get some more.
Maybe we're just nitpicking the first episode. Maybe we're missing something.
We're probably going to get more like establishing episodes in the future to kind of explain more about the world and how we get there and how we started with that first episode and stuff like that. Yeah. But yeah, I just mean compared to this week where I actually even like some of the more goofy episodes of like Isekai anime and stuff like that, compared to this week where I really liked the first episodes of pretty much everything. Yeah. Like I thought this is one of my favorite starts to a season as far as episode 1s go. This one was obviously, it might have just been to the hype because everybody was saying like this is the one to watch. But yeah, it just didn't do it for me yet. It still might though. We're not giving up on it. We're gonna give it a few more episodes to see what happens and where it goes.
I mean, there's a couple other things I want to rag on here before we leave it. First of all, the one girl was there looking for her friend.
Yep.
And then she just forgets about that.
Yep.
Like it's possible she's just not talking about it to try and bait the girl. No. It's just like she walked in to look for her friend. It's like, hey, let's fight this creature and get some money. It's like, okay. And I want to just reiterate this. I'm not ragging on it because it has 3D animation. It's because it's just so fucking bad 3D animation.
Yeah, I mean, like something like Attack on Titan, the newest season has 3D animation.
But the thing is, even like janky 3D animation can work, like Trigger did with Gridman. If you work it into the story and it's actually meant to look at a place, it works. This didn't feel like it was them trying to transition the worlds or anything like that. It just feels like they transitioned something with 3D animation not very well.
I'm more excited to watch the second episode just to see if I notice this as well. Maybe just because I wasn't paying attention. I was more trying to watch for the story to see what all the hype was about.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the one girl had square legs in one scene when she was walking.
It was also, so it would have been the second thing we watched. I literally watched the last Dungeon Boonies Isekai, or not an Isekai, fantasy anime. And I was like, oh, I surprisingly like that a lot. I thought it was going to be a lot goofier. And then I watched this and I was like, I wish I was watching that other one again.
Yeah, like I can't think of anything else that I didn't want to watch as much as I didn't want to keep watching this one.
Yeah, at some point I was like looking down at my phone. I was like, no, I gotta look back up. I gotta watch the episode. Right, fuck. Now, once again, if that upsets you, just the first episode, we're gonna keep going.
Tell us what we're missing. Tell us what is so amazing about this.
Yeah, if you got to use some slight spoilers from the manga or whatever source materials, hey, this gets amazing. Some crazy arcs coming up.
Bait the hook. Try and pull us in. Yeah, give us a reason to keep watching this. I'm almost wondering if this is another case of Studio Felix striking, where they take good source material and just fuck it up.
It's possible. I mean, Berserk is a pretty good example of that.
Yeah, I can't even think of anything else off their list. It wasn't very long, but even like King of Thorns, which was an indie film, did a better 3D animation than this. Like, I can't imagine fucking up this badly.
But yeah, if you want us to keep watching, if you want that to be something we talk about weekly, obviously, A, you're going to need to pull us in, and then B, you're going to need to vote for it down below.
Yeah,
because we need to know information. Because we need to make this list. This I think episode what comes out Tuesday or something. Is it Monday or Tuesday? So it's
Monday or Tuesday. Yeah, so we've only got a couple days before this comes up.
Yeah, it's Monday, so it's tomorrow. So tomorrow we're gonna find out exactly what's happening in episode 2 and see if something excites us and can nab us in.
I'll watch the second episode just to see if it's better.
Yeah, now obviously, as we mentioned earlier, something like this, for instance, it comes out tomorrow. Our discussion on the first episode isn't going to be very relevant by the time episode 2 comes out.
For all we know, it's going to pull Decadence. Maybe the second episode's completely different. It's amazing, and it's going to fix all the problems in anime.
I definitely think we need an establishing episode, because that one did not a good job at explaining. And now maybe they're like, hey, we can make this a mystery if we don't tell people. But I still, as much as I like a mystery,
you need a framework to do that.
Yeah, I need some establishing first. I need to know the world. Like, obviously, this is set in some sort of modern day Tokyo, but why is there this other dimension world that everyone knows about, yet somehow no one knows about, that you can just walk into with guns and get money from the cubes? Like,
yeah, and not to mention the fact that we've got just some random college student walking around with fucking handguns, and it seems like if you look at the art, it shows like every character they walked by is involved in that world somehow. Mm-hmm. So is it just a case of like every college girl goes here at some point? It's like a rite of passage?
It's not a very secret dimension at this point.
And we see some random schmuck there who's already dead with like stuff growing out of his eyes. It's like, so do people just die here and no one ever finds them? Or
yeah, that's the kind of shit we need to know. We need to see like posters in the background talking about like missing people and like show that it's like that guy's face. There's just, it's missing something right now.
Yeah, like
that maybe it'll get. But
I would take a 5-minute exposition, like you get at a lot of anime that are doing the fantasy world setup thing. Just give me like a 2-minute exposition on like what the hell's going on here.
Well, it's like Promised Neverland, for instance. One of the things that our friend said about it, he said like, there's a lot of exposition episode number 1, so it might seem slow. But because the amount of exposition they put in episode number 1, it means you don't really need it again for the rest of it.
Yeah,
And you
everything
now
else
have a
just flows.
good establishment. You're like, oh, I know how this world works.
Yeah, and then we get this, which is just like, we're not going to tell you anything. We're not going to do anything with it. It's just 2 college girls go at it.
Well,
I mean,
that's a different description altogether there, Jimmy. I would be watching that show.
Okay, yeah. Like, just get to it, watch the show, and hope something happens.
But yeah, well, obviously episode 2 comes out tomorrow, so we're going to watch that. If you really liked episode 1, let us know why. We kind of need that at this point.
The thing that hurts is this is probably going to turn out to be one of those anime darlings of the season, and we're just going to...
God. But yeah, that's pretty much, that's everything we watched this week. Obviously, next week we're going to have a few more episodes. We probably will not be doing every single show that we talked about today next week. Next week, we're going to have that refined list. So we really need you to go down and comment below. I'll leave a pinned comment. So comment in that comment about which of the shows your vote goes for us adding as the 6th one on our list.
Yeah, we appreciate it because there's a lot to decide on here. And I'm just begging you, don't vote for Picnic, please.
Yeah, and as we said too, we're going to have this 7th slot is going to be a rotating slot. So if you like something like Horimiya or like Quintessential Quintuplets, there's a good chance we're going to be talking about that every now and then in the rotating spot if we really liked the episode. So if there's like a good episode comes out, you're like, man, I wish they were talking about this weekly so I could talk to them about this episode. There's a good chance if it was that good, it'll be in our rotating spot.
Yeah.
But yeah, either way, vote for whatever show you're watching that isn't currently on our list. Just vote for that one, and we'll calculate the votes and just see what people want us to talk
even
about.
if you just want us to go back and rag on King's Raid, just
let us know. As I said, we're still watching it at this point, so we just need to know for sure so we can get this finalized list by next week because everything's going to be out by the time we do this next episode.
Okay, yeah. Do we have an end date for the poll or?
It's just going to be, I don't know, probably like a day before we record at that point.
Okay.
Something that at least right before we get on here, we can have that full list of our 6 anime and our 1 bonus rotation spot.
Awesome.
I think other than that, that's everything we have to talk about today, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the episode. If you did, like, comment, subscribe, hit the stupid bell notification.
Yeah, give us any interaction. We appreciate everything.
All that kind of shit for the beautiful algorithm.
Yeah, starting this week too, I've got my personal YouTube account set up for the channel, and I will start responding to you personally. So
yeah, in case you guys didn't know, right now I'm the only person actually on the Weeb Scene at YouTube channel. So if there's a comment, it's probably coming from me. But since Jimmy's going to get his own personal account, if he has opinions he wants to let you know about, like if he wants to talk about Higurashi and all that kind of shit that I don't watch in the comments, now he can do so on his own thing. So don't be surprised if you get a comment from him back.
Right.
Other than that, guys, this has been episode number, 17?
Yeah.
I hope you guys enjoyed it. My name's been Cam.
And I'm Jimmy.
Take it easy, guys. We'll see you next week. Enjoy the week. Goodbye.
Peace.